and an idea that we could clone John's voice through artificial intelligence, that we could use that to have him participate and contribute in some way. But unfortunately, we didn't get it done in time for the local election. But we have trialled it since, and we're going to give people an indication of how this works. So John has prepared a statement, just his thoughts on the election from earlier on this morning. So I think, John, what happens is you type in your words of wisdom, isn't that it? And it's produced in an AI voice of your voice. Isn't that the way it is? So, John, in your own time.
Thank you, Neil, and a very special thanks to you and all at Ocean for making this effort to have me join you on this historical election. Ocean FM have been to the forefront with using technology, and I and my family, especially my grandson Jay, are extremely grateful to you and the team for allowing my voice on the airwaves again. It will come as a shock to many, but also amazement at the advances in technology. There have been many shocks and changes in all the years, and we are expecting it to continue today as we see an electorate who are keen for change, not necessarily a change of party, but a change of face. The thinking is that they will be as good as what they have and not be resting on the assumption of a safe seat. We have now 9 parties contesting this election, with independents a total of 18 candidates. This is a big change from 100 years ago when we had 2 main parties, pro-treaty and anti-treaty, with a couple of smaller ones. Today will be a long day for some candidates as they await their fate. While many will be striving to achieve a personal best, we realistically only have 7 candidates who will be in contention for seats in this 4-seater constituency. The exit poll from Ocean and ATU gave us some indication of what can happen, and I expect it to be a larger turnout of close to 60%, which will leave it much tighter for the Sligo town-based candidates. Nevertheless, at this early stage, it looks like Fianna Fáil, Fine Gael, Sinn Fein and Independent, all that could change. That was before we saw the tally, and it is great that we can now say hello and thank you to everyone for their courtesy. It shows how far Ocean FM are prepared to go to introduce new technology so that you can have the results and incisive comment in your home. To those who are hindered by ill health, there is a great hope for treatment and benefits now. Despite what may be said about the state of our health system, the staff at all levels are so responsive to the needs and care. I personally shared 8 months in their care in ENT Surgical North and shared so much with them, including births, deaths, marriages, anniversaries and laughs. I won't mention any names, but thank you. Back to today, we predict Fyon, Scanlon, Kenny and Clark.
Well, there you go. I mean, how wonderful is that? And John, you talked about shock and amazement, and that is incredible what it can do. And I know that's been very emotional for you and all your family. And just to clarify this, we checked with John's family that it was okay to do that, and they were happy with it. And it was an emotional time for them when we produced the recording of John's voice. So we're very pleased to have you with us again today, John, and we thank you for all your help, because John has done sterling work for us in the preparation of the exit poll and in all the analysis and the preparation of documentation for today. And if you ever need a tally figure from the year dot, John will have it. Isn't that it, John?
He's the man, the king.
Yeah.
Good to hear you, John.
But then again, AI, I mean, what can you say? I mean, that's just incredible, is it not? Yeah. Okay, and that was earlier on today, there's still 7 in it, John, as far as you're concerned. You haven't changed your mind. Okay. No bingo tonight, no. All right, okay. Right, okay. We thought that was important. Sorry, Michael Kilcoyne, you wanted to say something.
Congratulations, Niall, on that piece, and well done, John. Can't thank you enough for all the education and help over the years. We have some figures there just to actually concur with what John is saying about the 7. We all seem to agree that, and we have done a lot on the number 2s. I have loads of tally sheets here on people that were tallying away at all the number 2s. So when it gets down to the last 7, I could give you 7 figures that will be a guideline.
Okay, yeah.
And I can let you know the figures that we don't know anything about.
Yeah.
Okay, so when we get down to the last 7, we think that Frank Fein will be on 10,006. 10,006. We think Martin Kenny will be on about 9,025. Then we have Eamon Scanlon at 7,104. Micah Clark at 6,736. Chris McManus 6,091. Edel McSharry at 5,949. And Marian Harkin at 5,856. Is that 7 candidates?
It is.
Them all?
Yeah, that's the
Now,
model.
we put that into the computer just to kind of get the algorithms on it, and that was with definite number 2s. But obviously there's number 3s, the 4s and 5s that'll be to play for there. And there was a few number 2s that weren't tallied. So we know there's 4,200 votes unaccounted for that will have to be added in there. And those 7 candidates will get a share of those, provided that they're transferable. So you have another 4,200 votes in the pool. And as you can see then, the bottom 3 are extremely close to each other.
Yeah.
And just to finish my little piece, 2 of them will definitely be eliminated. And they'll be, they'll be eliminated with approximately 6,000 votes each. And that's another 12,000 that will come into the pool. So you have the 12,000 and the 4,200. So you'll have 16,200 to come into the pool for the top 5. For 4 seats. And that's just evolving on there from what John said about the top 7.
Yeah, I don't know how you worked that one out. Where are you getting those figures from, Michael? You're just...
I'm getting those figures from the very good tally people.
Yeah.
And I did some of them myself. The sheets are all there.
You're working ahead, so...
Yeah, there's Cassidy's numbers 2s.
Yeah.
A fine sample of 1,024 of hers. Actually, sorry. We have 1,835 of her votes tallied. Cosgrove's, we have 1,376 tallied.
It's to make it very interesting.
Yeah.
You'll have
In what way? Explain to listeners what does that mean, do you think?
well, assuming this is all accurate, and obviously we have. I don't doubt the expertise of Michael and the team there, but obviously it's tallied number 2s. He said it's not dealing with 3s, 4s, 5s, 6s, 8s, and so on, which could be there. So it has to come with a health warning, and then there's the 4,200 other votes.
Yeah.
But it would seem to indicate, all right, that by the time Fein does get elected, there probably will be a significant surplus. So that's another count.
Yeah,
as well.
Yeah, there's potential surpluses, obviously, but Fein might go over on count 4 or 5, and he might only go over by a small number of votes.
Yeah.
What we do notice as well is that from the small tally we've done on McManus's number 2s, if McManus was eliminated, that would give you an extremely large surplus for Martin Kenny. The party vote is extremely strong.
Sure, yeah.
So that would be a big count. A big potential, but there's no guarantee that Chris McManus will be eliminated now.
Of course
but
not,
he's one of the bottom 3, and the bottom 3 are very close to each other at the moment.
There's very little between the bottom 3, certainly, yeah.
So with 4,900, is it 4,200 number 2s sort of not accounted for in this tally, that bottom 3 could be in any order.
Correct.
Since there is only a little over 200 votes separating them.
Absolutely.
So and that does change the complexion of the way that this pans out.
Just had a text there, just in between, and the guys are calculating there. We were talking about the turnouts nationally being low, and we were saying sort of 56%. It's not 56%. It's actually the national poll is about 58.2%, and that's down from 62 in the last election precisely, according to the national tally. And here, based on our tally, we're at 60%. So we're above the national average if tallies turn out to be very accurate. Richard Kennedy is keeping us on track there for MacClair.
Okay, well, thanks to Richard. Right, okay, so as you're saying, Michael, this is far from predictable still.
Well, everybody is fancying the top four and they have the most votes in the pot at the moment. But, to put it in simple things, there's still going to be 16,000 votes allocated on top of the ones that we've already tallied. So there's going to be an awful lot of votes distributed before the top five.
Okay, all right, okay, that's interesting, Michael. Thanks for bringing us. And Michael always comes good towards the end of the counts, as we know. He always has the inside track and how it's going to pan out. Thanks for that, Michael. Very quick break to take back at studio, and we'll return then to the Clayton Hotel for more coverage. By the way, I just wanted to let you know, you will not miss the first count because we'll get plenty of notice in advance from the returning officer, so we'll be on hand to bring you that live. And crowds are gathering now for that first count announcement here in Sligo Leitrim.
Welcome to Clayton Hotels, where every second is yours. Clayton Hotels, where it's personal.
Well, the main benefits transitioning to solar for us was the savings on the bills, and we obviously had an extra few pounds that we could put into somewhere else in the business. We're a family-run business. We like to give back to the community. Well, I shopped around and got a few quotes from different companies, and I just thought solar generation were the most professional that I came across, and it was a no-brainer at the end of the day to go for solar generation, really. I'd 100% recommend solar generation to anybody that's thinking of getting in solar. Everything was top class. They're a local company. They looked after me 100%. I couldn't have asked for any more from solar generation, and really, really looked after me very well.
When plumbing problems strike, who can you count on in the Northwest? Nordic Plumbers, that's who. From boiler services and installation to heating system upgrades, Nordic Plumbers are your first call for all your plumbing needs. Visit us online at nordicplumbers.ie or call 083 38 55 812 and get a free quote today. Nordic Plumbers, just one call or click away. For all your plumbing needs, head to nordicplumbers.ie today. RGI and Offtech registered.
The Ocean FM car giveaway for 2024 is now live. You could be driving away in this stunning Hyundai i20 Deluxe Plus worth €25,000 for as little as €10. Fitted with all mod cons such as 16-inch alloy wheels, privacy glass, wireless phone charging and lots more. Grab your ticket now, priced at only €10. You can get 6 tickets for €50 or 10 tickets for €80. To get yours, just go to oceanfm.ie and click on the car giveaway. Best of luck.
Right, okay, welcome back. A lot of people reacting to our interview with John Comiskey, and for good reason. And it was a particularly emotional moment during our coverage. And we have a message here as follows. Thanks to Niall and all at Ocean FM for allowing us to hear our granddad's voice again. We are so proud of him. That's from his Sligo grandchildren, Chelsea, Dion, Jay and Ciara. Back to the floor. John Lynch is speaking with Leitrim Fianna Fáil councillor Sean McGowan and former Sligo Fine Gael councillor Hubert Keeney.
Yeah, thank you very much indeed, Niall. You're very welcome back here to the floor. Hubert, I'll start off with yourself. At the moment here, I suppose it's the calm before the storm, waiting for the first count at this stage. As somebody who's been through the bill with council elections and through these debates, at the moment it's probably a nervous time for candidates.
Oh, absolutely. It's a very nerve-wracking time with that. A lot of effort put in over the last 3 or 4 weeks, and some of them for a couple of months, you know that. And it comes down. You've put yourself up to the public of that, and you always do the best show you can of that in your team, and then the people make the decision. Sometimes you're pleased with that decision, sometimes you're not, and it's tough on the people that don't make it. It's elation for the people that do get elected and perform well. So, but this is democracy, and it is the best game in town that we have, and it takes a while and it takes money to do it. But when you look at, we'll say, other countries around the world, we're very fortunate here that we have a democracy and a very open and transparent democracy. And it's good that people come out and vote and that we have respect for each other, regardless of our political opinion. And that's the way that we accept the result. And whatever happens tonight here and all over the country and over the next couple of days, the people will accept it and the political parties will accept it.
When we look at the talk that dominated the build-up to the election, the various strategies were discussed by the party, how many candidates were going to run, where they were from. Fine Gael adopted what many described as a high-risk strategy in just running the one candidate, but it seems to have had the desired effect.
Yes, I would agree with the strategy. We had 0.8 of a quota the last time out 5 years ago with two candidates. This time, there was other strong candidates in the field, and it was better that we would concentrate on just one. And I think it has paid off for us, because then people got focused on it was a simple message to do. It was Frank Fein, and this time having an election in winter time is not the best idea. We found it very hard to canvass, particularly out in rural areas at night time. Or that it was okay if people were available during the day, but a lot of people are at work, so getting people to go around during the day is very difficult. So I know from our point of view in North Sligo, we mainly concentrated on the urban areas because it was difficult to get out into the countryside, apart from maybe on a Saturday or a Sunday during daylight hours,
Yeah, the short, sharp campaign probably left a little bit to be desired in trying to get around and meet all the various candidates. Moving away from a Fine Gael perspective, the standout highlights so far from this, maybe the emergence of Michael Clark. I know it's still very early to call that final seat. And again, bearing in mind your Leitrim and North Sligo connections, the struggle that Marian Harkin finds herself in at the minute.
Yeah, well, it's like, Fianna Fáil had a strategy this time of 3 seats, right? And they were on about 20% of the vote. And that is difficult, because then, people, you divide by 3. So it's 7% each or whatever that. I know Eamon's got a bit more. But the same thing is with the independents. Like when Marian was running before an independent, she was the independent. And the independents were on about 15 or 16%, so she could garner that vote. The independents now are on about 22, 23%, but there was 3 of them, and maybe another couple of smaller ones as well. So it was obvious that that was going to be divided. Michael Clark has polled well. West Sligo came out strongly for him, but I wouldn't throw in the towel yet for Marian Harkin. I think there's a number of people there. I know it was called earlier by some of the panellists very early today, but I think there's a number of people in for the last seat. And I think the story will be told. We'll have to wait till tomorrow, probably around lunchtime, till some of the lower candidates that have a good few votes, the people that are around 2,000, like Marie Castlery, People for Profit or whatever, before they start getting eliminated, and see where it goes. It's a town vote, a lot of it. There's the woman thing there as well. So I wouldn't rule out either Marian or Chris McManus or Adele McSherry.
All right.
Yes.
too close to call. The fact that you mentioned Edel McSherry there will be good news from our next guest from a Fianna Fáil perspective. Fianna Fáil Councillor Sean McGowan in Leitrim, you're very welcome. Thank you indeed, Sean, for joining us. Good to catch up with you here. From a Fianna Fáil perspective, Edel McSherry still very much in the mix. Obviously, it's been a fantastic campaign as well, by all accounts, for Eamon Scanlon, and looking good for him that he's going to be returned as a TD. But before we talk about that, let's look at it from the perspective of the Leitrim candidate, Paddy O'Rourke. And your council colleague, your Fianna Fáil council colleague, Mary Bohan, has already been critical of party headquarters for leaving it so long to add the third candidate. What's your views on the way the party headquarters handled the situation where Leitrim candidate and Paddy O'Rourke was added to the ticket so late?
Yeah, I'd agree with Mary, my colleague. It was very late. It was only 3 weeks out, you can say, from the election was called. So he was very much trying to catch up. Now, he got a good vote, in fairness. We were flat out for the last 3 weeks trying to, I suppose, catch up. But yeah, I'd agree with Mary. I'm disappointed in HQ because we were always hoping to have a Leitrim candidate. That was our preferred choice, and it took them so long to give Paddy the go-ahead. So we are where we are now. I suppose that's it.
Yeah. From the perspective of Eamon Scanlon, a very solid performance indeed from him, and Edel McSherry still in there fighting. So are you confident, Sean, that you could yet take two?
Well, definitely. I think Eamon is going to get a seat. As Hubert was saying here beside me, it's going to be tight for that last seat with Edel still is in the mix, yeah, and they have Marian and Marian Harkin, Michael Tark. So it's really all to play for, and you know, with the way transfers are, and there's a good, you wouldn't know what way the will break down, you know. So I suppose if you're ever going to ask me, I'd say Michael Clark possibly has an edge. But I wouldn't rule out either Edel or Marian at this stage.
All right, final question I want to put to both of you in relation to the queries that came up on the doorsteps, the issues that were raised during the canvassing campaign as well. Wide and varied, probably differs from one geographic location to another. But the general response of the public ahead of this election, a low turnout across the country. Is there a disconnection beginning to be formed between politics and the vast majority of the public?
Well, I think just in relation to the low turnout, I don't think that's really is truly reflected. There are an awful lot of errors on the live register, and there's a lot of people on the live register that shouldn't be on it. You know, they're not being taken off for various different reasons. So it doesn't reflect what's there. So that means that your percentage is going down, and that has to be corrected in the coming years, I think. And how that is done, I know it's managed by the councils at the moment, but maybe there's some other organisation that can do it, maybe on post or that knows where people are in the country or whatever that, and you know, kind of a better better knowledge of where people are living. In relation to the issues on the doorstep, like certainly in North Sligo, certainly housing was an issue, right? And that it concerned young people, but also it concerned the middle age as well, because it was their sons and daughters or whatever that. I believe there was an acceptance that the country was doing pretty well, particularly compared to, I would say, our England next door to us. That, you know, that we were bringing in budget surpluses or whatever that, but that there was an awful lot of work to do in relation to health service, housing, and the other thing it did come up on the doorstep was migration into the country, that, and how we were, you know, allowing too many people here. Now, I would have a different point of view on that, but I think we have to improve how we manage that. And one thing I will say about housing as well is that and it's been a few years since I've been out canvassing, I'm still amazed at the number of vacant houses that are in both our urban areas and our rural areas. And I think we just have to really come to grasp that. And these are houses that are vacant for a long time. They're not just people that are maybe vacant for a while. Those houses that I came to that 10 years ago when I was canvassing are still vacant. All right. And that is wrong.
Okay, Sean McGowan, I presume there's a lot of the word infrastructure came up a few times in the Carrick and Shannon area. Many would claim the town is crying out for a bypass, chronic traffic problems. Migration has impacted various areas of your constituency as well. So what type of issues are you hearing? Maybe start on the bypass there.
Well, obviously the bypass in Carrick and Shannon is a huge issue. As people of Sligo quite rightly point out, you know, and trying to get back to Dublin at the weekend is chronic, for want of a better word. But it's going through the process at the moment. But for the bypass to be actually built, it's going to be 2029. That's barring no objections. So you might well see objections, and if you do, you're going to be...
It could delay the process. And the infrastructure, the N17 is another project that we've heard time and time again over the lifetime of this government. You and other councillors, if memory serves me correctly, have been calling for additional trains to service Sligo so that more could attend the ATU, more people could be in Sligo for the working day. But yet the response comes back time and time again that this government has ignored the North West, ignored Sligo, ignored Carrick and Shannon when it comes to infrastructure.
Yeah, I agree with you. Yeah, I'm certainly looking for more trains, and I have called for, I have a motion actually down for our January meeting for new train starting off in Longford to bring students and workers into Sligo that would be arriving here in Sligo around 9 o'clock in the morning. And I think that would be get a huge catchment area right along the line from Longford. So I would hope that, but as Hubert says, housing is a huge issue, and he has quite rightly pointed out there are a number of houses, old houses, that can be brought back, and they were vacant, derelict 10 years ago, and they're still derelict. They can be brought back in and put into
use. If the proper supports, many would say, if those supports are provided, they'll be brought back, but there's too many anomalies around the scheme that exists currently.
There is a lot, but there has been a lot done in the housing in the last number of years, and there's an old slogan says, a lot done, but a lot more to do.
All right. I think we've heard that one before from Fianna Fáil, haven't we? With that,
we hope we could see more improvements on that.
All right, okay. Look at Sean McGowan, Councillor Sean McGowan, thank you so much indeed. And Hubert Keeley, thank you both for joining us here. That's just some of the reaction here from the floor at the moment, Niall. We're still all waiting with bated breath at this stage in relation to when this first count is going to take place.
Thanks for that, John. Just a couple of more messages. Great production. I'm following you on YouTube in Canada, says this person. And can you give me a shout out, please? I'm a proud Yukon man with Irish roots by the name of Parkside. There you go. Thank you, and keep up the good work, says this person. Congratulations to all members of the Ocean FM team today. I've been watching the live stream on YouTube for most of the day, and I greatly appreciate the efforts of the journalists and the videographers. Says this person, and lots of reaction to our interview with John Comiskey. That was brilliant, says this person. Fair play to all involved, and to John Comiskey especially. A great coverage. A lovely moment on Ocean FM's election coverage tonight. The legendary election pundit John Comiskey gives us his assessment of the count so far in his own words using AI audio. To Niall and Kieran Carty, many thanks for making this happening. I'm currently listening to John Comiskey, absolutely fantastic. And someone else says, listening to John Comiskey, a true gentleman. Mark, you wanted to acknowledge...
To say about John Comiskey, the legend it was, and thank God that exists, because it means that we can hear from him more over the coming 48 hours, I hope, in his insights, which are fantastic, and the courageous and brave man that he and his family are in facing the difficult illness that he's had. No, just one anecdote that we were saying is one of the first elected in Dublin was outgoing Junior Minister Neil Richmond, and his special advisor and director of elections is Sligo's own, and John Perry here beside me, the proud father of Jude Perry, who has a great, and he not only got elected, he brought in his running mate. And I remember meeting Jude for the first time when he was about 6, accompanying his father to the tall ships when we were both representing, I think, the Marine Committee down at that, which is 19 years ago.
Yes, indeed.
And Jude, it's amazing that you remember such a young child.
Yeah.
And there he is at the top of his game, advising politically and directing campaigns and winning. And I'm sure whether he enters the elected political field or not in due course will remain to be seen. But he's certainly operating at the highest level within politics, and a credit to Maria's mum and indeed John here beside me.
Not from the grass was licked anyway, John, isn't that right?
But and you see, he has the advantage that he has political background both sides.
Yes. Yeah. I know what you're going to say.
No, we're not going to say.
No, I know what you're going to say. John Perry is reminded of this on a regular basis. But anyway,
every
continue.
election,
yeah.
And the other thing is that he also has Marie has roots in Leitrim. Always remember that.
Okay, I didn't know that.
Marie's father came from Keshcarrigan.
All right.
Yes, indeed.
Okay.
So
I'm very proud of that, indeed.
exactly,
Yeah.
it always was.
The Mulvey's, Gus Mulvey and all the Mulvey family in Keshcarrigan. But no, Mark, thank you very much. Jude, obviously, the most important thing that he's enjoying what he's doing, and he certainly he has tremendous respect for Neil Richmond, and he enjoys working for him. And it's good that he's, and it's a good foundation, a good education for him to see at first hand how a Dublin-based constituency operates.
So Jude has the best of all the Fianna Fáil and Fine Gael election strategies over many years.
Well, they say mixed marriages are the best, really. and I have to say, I have to give testimony to that.
I'm surprised she didn't convert you, though.
But I can certainly say that
I have earphones.
she helped me considerably.
Oh,
Right, okay. We are joined now by Marian Harkin, outgoing TD. Marian Harkin has just arrived at the count here this evening. Marian, thanks for joining us. We know we're catching you on the hop. You're just in the door, I know.
And sure, where would I like to be except chatting to you, Niall?
Well, where would you like to be tonight? You're here.
I'd like to be higher up in the polls, but sure, that's how it goes.
Well, what's your reaction to the polls and your showing according to the tallies? You need to be a little bit higher
yeah,
up.
it's according to the tallies. And to be honest, I was a bit disappointed because we were getting a really positive reaction and the bookies had me as firm favourite, so that tells you something else. But I'm just hoping that positivity and goodwill is there in 2s and 3s and 4s. So we don't know yet. We've seen some of the number 2s. We've done some tallies. And I suppose the way I'd word it at this stage is there's a pathway. It's narrow and it's slippery, but there's a pathway. So to be fighting for the last seat, that's it.
And we were talking to one of your campaigners, Mihal, earlier on. He says, you've always proved transfer friendly and you've always been battling before and you made good. So you're not out of the running at all.
I don't think so, not at this point.
Not at this point.
We might be having a different conversation at 12 o'clock tomorrow.
Yeah.
I mean, you can't really know. But just from looking at what's there and the tallies we've done on the number 2s, and I suppose we're at this for a while, so we know how the system works. That doesn't make us experts and it doesn't make us right, but it does mean we have some knowledge of it. And from that, as I said, there's a narrow pathway, but I have a mountain to climb. But you know something? I don't mind trying to climb it.
Right. Okay. But you're here and you turned up and you're here for the first count.
Yeah.
And that would be always the case, no matter what. What is it? It's not...
Yes. Apart from anything else, I suppose the listeners out there want to hear what the candidates have to say and how they're reacting. And also I have to say for my supporters, it would be a poor thing if I didn't turn up.
Yeah.
But of course I would. But look, when you hope to do better and you're not doing as well as you hope to, then that's a challenge. But I mean, I'm sitting here and we all know what it's like to win and to lose elections.
Yeah.
And you take what comes, the people, decide, and that's it. But in this case, I think there is a way to go. I'm not sure yet how far, but I certainly have a little bit more on this pathway.
Yeah, okay. And do you sense the winds have changed or against you, or did you sense that during the campaign, or were you surprised this morning when you heard how the tallies were going, or...?
I have to say, maybe my political nose isn't as good as it should be, because we didn't sense it's not just a wind, it's a bit more than that, of change. Yes, we had some sense of it, but I suppose the positive reaction, I mean, many of my canvassers said to me, and I would say it, might have been the best canvass we had. And that sounds strange, but it's the truth of it. From the point of view of people meeting me and with goodwill and just all of that. But as I always said, to translate that into number 1 votes is the trick. Yeah. And on this occasion, I didn't do it. So I'm still hopeful that there may be enough 2s and 3s out there and 4s and 5s and 6s. Because there's a lot of votes still to be allocated. So maybe. But I was, to be honest, and there's no point in lying, when I heard the exit poll at 7%, I was disappointed because we actually thought we'd get a bit more. We were thinking more in terms of 9-10%. But look, that's how it is.
Yeah. Mark?
Yeah, absolutely. The game is still on very much, and Marian knows it better than anybody. There's a long way to go. I think that the returning officer is going to close up shop here around 11:30 tonight at whatever stage. He wants to get the first count done and maybe a few of the eliminations. But the business end, Marian is quite right, it'll be sort of 12 o'clock tomorrow. And there is a pathway. There's still a pathway there for 5 people, effectively. 4 people, effectively. The order of eliminations and how those transfers are going to go. And, AI is one thing. I'll tell you what I think of AI after the fact. After the fact.
We know already, Mark.
I tend to agree with you. It's all good for a bit of a discussion at it.
I still think that Marian is still in the race. She's far from out of the race. But nobody knows until the eliminations start.
Yeah.
And there will always come a trend in the eliminations. And it's whoever picks up that trend is going to be the one that's going to come out on top.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah.
It has always been like that.
Yeah.
And from what I see of it, any one of 3-4 could be in the race for that last seat. And remember, there's nothing to say that somebody couldn't get stuck of what we see as being the 3 frontrunners. Well, Martin Kenny, I think, is guaranteed, and I think Eamon Scanlon. But while Frankie is on 10,000, he's close enough to it, I think, to 11.5. Yeah, he's not going to be caught. But the last one will be interesting, and we'll be here this time tomorrow night, waiting for somebody to be eliminated or a surplus to be dealt with, and we mightn't even be out tomorrow night. With regards to the transfers and the breakdowns.
Yeah. Is it difficult, Marian? Is it nerve-wracking for you and your supporters and family?
Of course it is. But to be honest with you, I think it's more nerve-wracking for my supporters and family. Yeah. I suppose all of us here are politicians. We've all fought elections. We know that the figures don't lie.
Yeah.
But we don't know all the figures yet. So that's the issue here. So I tend to be more pragmatic about it. But of course, you don't run for election unless you want to win the election and then achieve something on the back of that. That's why you do it. So, yeah, of course a bit disappointed, but it's not over, as John said.
Yeah.
And there are routes for a number of people, and I'm among them. And I'd say no more than that, Niall.
But as you always said, votes come in ones.
They surely do, not in handfuls. Votes come in ones. And one of the things I learned, isn't politics so interesting? Look at Pat the Pope tonight.
Yeah.
In 2014, I defeated Pat the Pope by 271 votes out of hundreds of thousands of votes. Mm-hmm. And he then, now is getting re-elected, and here I am struggling. So politics is fascinating in many ways. So you can never know, and it's not over, as they say, until the fat lady sings. And I'm going to hang in there for every last vote.
Okay, John Perry.
Yes, I would like to compliment Marian, and I suppose obviously the elections I know have been in, having won 4 of them and lost 2 of them, that it's a challenging time, and when you're in that space, it's every vote certainly counts. But I think there is an avenue there for 3 to 4 people there to get, which is there. I think we just cannot call it. We cannot call it with regards to the how that avenue will split. You know what I mean? So it's all to be played for, really, isn't it?
It is all to play for. John McCarthy, you want to say a word to Marian before we let her go?
Obviously, I want to congratulate Marian not just on her election campaign, but on an entire career that so many people would be proud to put behind them. And Marian can certainly win, lose or draw, walk out of this count centre with her head held high, having given an enormous service to the people of the northwest of Ireland and Sligo Leitrim as well. And I've been, Marian, when you were contesting against my father. I've been there when when we were fighting you, and I've also been there when I was quietly rooting for you too. So and indeed you have been helpful to me in other aspects as well. So, but I'm just looking like with only 200 votes there, 230 something votes separating the bottom three of the final seven, and 4,200 number two tallies sort of unaccounted for. That elimination order could be anything. We just don't know how that elimination order is going to go and what the results of it will be. So yeah, I wouldn't be betting my house on anything in the last three anyway yet.
All right, okay. Marian, thanks for dropping by. We'll let you back to your family and supporters as well.
And thanks for all your kind words. And
a long way to go yet.
And I envy these guys here. I sat here during the local elections, and one of the things you remember as a politician is that people win elections and people lose elections, and you have to be careful of how you talk about people and how you describe it. I mean, politics is brutal.
Yep.
Comes down to numbers. We understand that. But look, I want to thank everyone for their kind words and their good wishes.
Okay.
And hope to talk to you at some stage
tomorrow.
Well,
I'm sure we will be talking to you. And thanks, Marian, for coming by. Thanks very much. That's Marian Harkin. We're still awaiting the first count announcement. We're told there will be another announcement by the returning officer in the next few minutes to request agents to attend on invalid votes. Now, I thought that was done already, but anyway, that's what we're being told. So
they could have picked up invalid votes during the check-in and counting. That could be. It's probably only a handful.
Yeah. All right, we shall see. I think we're long due a break at this stage, so we will take a quick break and we will rejoin our coverage in the Clayton Hotel in a couple of moments.
Welcome to Clayton Hotels, where every second is yours. Clayton Hotels, where it's personal.
I find Solar Generation very good to work with, very patient, very friendly, and I think if it was not a local installer, it would have been more difficult to get people to come back and check things up. So shop local was really important for us, but also because the grant was available, and that was a nice incentive. But we love looking at the app and seeing how much money we make every day when the sun shines. The grant application process, Solar Generation were there to help us, so it was very, very easy relatively. I'd highly recommend working with Solar Generation. Local firm, great to support a local company and local staff.
When plumbing problems strike, who can you count on in the Northwest? Nordic Plumbers, that's who. From boiler services and installation to heating system upgrades, Nordic Plumbers are your first call for all your plumbing needs. Visit us online at nordicplumbers.ie or call 083 38 55 812 and get a free quote today. Nordic Plumbers, just one call or click away. For all your plumbing needs, head to nordicplumbers.ie today. RGI and Offtech registered.
Ocean FM car giveaway for 2024 is now live. You could be driving away in this stunning Hyundai i20 Deluxe Plus worth €25,000 for as little as €10. Fitted with all mod cons such as 16-inch alloy wheels, privacy glass, wireless phone charging and lots more. Grab your ticket now, priced at only €10. You can get 6 tickets for €50 or 10 tickets for €80. To get yours, just go to oceanfm.ie and click on the car giveaway. Best of luck.
Welcome to Solar Generation, where the power of the sun meets a greener future. We are delighted to offer personalized one-to-one solar consultations right here at our new facility. With our advanced PV software, we can remotely analyze your energy bills and property, providing you with detailed insights into the benefits of solar power. And to demonstrate our commitment to solar power, we recently installed a 15 kilowatt hybrid system with battery storage right on our own roof. Imagine the possibilities for your own home or business. By harnessing the power of the sun, you can reduce your reliance on traditional energy sources and contribute to a greener planet. Join us on this journey towards a sustainable future, powering your world today and for the generations to come. Solar Generation.
Welcome to Clayton Hotels, where every second is yours. Clayton Hotels, where it's personal.
Welcome back to Clayton Hotel. Still waiting for the official announcement of the first count. You won't miss a thing here on Ocean FM. Let's go to John on the floor, talking to a couple of young students who've been here even longer than us today. For a good reason, John.
Yes, indeed, Niall, and it's one of the stories here that we've just discovered. Two, as you mentioned, young students here, Martin Viglas and Yaris Rooney, who are students in Summerhill College. Politics is part of your studies, and we'll take it on from there. You're here today, you're interviewing as many candidates as possible. What has the day been like, and what's the experience in politics so far?
Well, it's very interesting, because obviously we only learn about this thing in a classroom on a whiteboard. So to see it in action is very cool. It's very cool, and we're getting through our interviews, we're getting a lot of nice quotes that we can use in our project, and hopefully it'll help towards the Leaving Cert and getting a good grade.
And what's your thoughts on the proportional representation system that's used here in deciding how seats go? In other countries, it's first past the post. It's a little bit more complicated. It adds a little bit more drama here. Would you be a fan of the PR system?
Yeah, I would. Obviously, one of the criticisms is it takes a bit longer, but if that means your democracy is more democratic, then it's worth a day or two to get it that way. As long as it benefits the people and it adds a bit of spice, adds a bit of drama, and makes it a lot more entertaining. And yeah, I think it's a more fair system.
A more fairer system. What has the response been like from the various candidates that you've spoken to today? And count centres, we've seen it here, some that are expected to do well, maybe some that could be struggling to do as well. There's a lot of tension around here. There can be a lot of drama a little bit later on, maybe tonight and tomorrow. So how have you been received by the candidates so far?
Well, all the candidates have been very nice to us. We've gone up to them, we just asked if they could give us a few responses in regards to our project that we're doing. And we've gotten very, very broad spectrum of responses, but they've all been very nice to us, and they've all gladly received us. We've got a broad range of responses. A lot of them relate back to housing and how young people can exercise power and the barriers to it. And a lot of them are saying that stuff like financial troubles, threats of eviction, stuff like that is really problematic for them. And also from candidates like Chris McManus, we've had ideas. Well, we've had points about how essentially the centralised governments cannot give us enough power because at a local level there's only, we have Coral and Oak, we have Fergal. Like there are methods, but because of constraints we can't progress our ideas.
I know, many will say maybe a system that's overcomplicated. From a young person's perspective now, and maybe I don't know if you're the age or not to vote at this stage.
We're both 18, yeah.
Okay, so you've had that opportunity to vote. First general election, obviously. What's the connection like in politics and young people at the minute? And what's been the response of your peers when they heard that you were going to be spending an entire day here, maybe 2 days at a town centre, and soaking up all the drama that a general election can throw up?
Well, it's a bit disconnected. I think you'd agree with that. Yeah. Well, essentially, we still have the big Irish thing of a lot of families. Well, they're party based, and a lot of their students, a lot of their younger children, they're going to vote. Sorry, not children anymore. They'd be 18, but they'd vote based on what their parents would want, on their grandparents, on their cousins, their aunties, their uncles.
Really, young people today, you feel, are taking their direction from older family members of the vote. I would have thought that, young people, especially of your generation today, would be very much making up your own minds in relation to the qualities of the candidates that you see in front of you. But you would be saying that it would come very much a steer from the family which way to vote.
We have no other source of information. Like all we're getting is we've chosen to do politics in society, but there's 12 people in our class, only 12. Like there's not big interest in politics in our school, and there's not enough in education.
That's amazing in the sense that so much of this election has been fought out now on social media, and that's been aimed towards young people, we've been told, by all the parties. So is that working? Is that providing you with any information? Say, Micheál Martin climbing up on a buffalo down in Cork, Simon Harris's TikTok videos. Is that providing you with information to help you make up your mind who you wanted to vote for?
It can provide some information, but young people, we're on social media so much these days, we can kind of see through some of the just pure acting. Like we want to see more construct actual plans and actual things in real life that we can see on our roads that are helping us.
So you found some of the candidates to be disingenuous on social media, almost acting. There's a lot of choreography, an awful lot of things are staged, and it's almost like a production, more so than giving you a genuine account of the candidates.
Yeah, it's a bit more like they're trying to generalise it for the whole country, and you can see where they're coming from. But I think what young people want to see is actual change happening rather than just people talking about it. Our big thing is housing. By the time this government is done, I'll be probably done my undergraduate at least and wanted to move out into the real world, but I might not have anywhere to move out to, and that's what I want to see. I'd rather see actual change out there in the real world than them posting on social media.
I was just going to ask, how worried are you about the future? In the sense, one time it might have been difficult to get a job and so many young people were immigrating. Now it's getting on the property ladder is a major challenge. So do you see futures for yourselves in this country, given that all the early indicators are that maybe after this election, the government will be more or less same as it was?
Well, what I've heard from a lot of my peers, and even from some of my younger teachers, they're all saying that they're all worried about if they're ever going to be able to buy a house. That's their big issue. Like, I'm scared. I don't know. I might get accommodation for college. I might try to go to the ATU here because, I live close by. But I'm worried. Like, I go out of college, right, I get a job, but where are my options? Like, I won't be able to get a house. And that's a concern that's been voiced by many students. I think you'll agree with that. Yeah.
Something similar concerns.
Yeah, a lot of similar concerns. It's part of the reason why some young people aren't getting involved is because they don't see politics really working for them, and they don't really see the point. But what I would say to them is, if you don't get involved, no change is going to happen. So you may as well try and get something.
Absolutely, and have your say and have your vote.
When you have young people that, especially college students, they're working, and if they miss a day in work, they might get fired from that job. And then how are they going to pay for their accommodation? Stuff like that, and that's a very big, real issue.
All right, final point that I just want to put to you for the moment. We've had all the experts in here. Let's hear from the young experts now. Call where these 4 seats are going to go in the Sligo-Leitrim constituency.
Well, the first 3, well, the first 2 seats anyway are fairly set, but the first 3, I'm thinking Kenny, Fein and Scanlon will be in. And then, from what I'm hearing, Clark's doing well. He's in with a good chance. Harkin's losing out, but she's still in the fight. And, of course, Fianna Fáil have their candidates. Personally, I'd like to see Chris McManus get in, but I think that those chances are slightly lower. But, yeah.
Okay, interesting prediction.
I think it's too close to call, but I agree. I think Mr. Kenny will get in, and then Mr. Fein are definitely set to take their seats in the Dáil, but the other 2, the third one not so much, but the last one is up for grabs, so we'll see how it goes.
Yeah, all up for grabs. Well, it's good to see that the future of the country is in such safe hands. It's great to see the interest that's here in politics as well. And you know something, Niall, I think these lads could give maybe the experts on the panel a run for their money when it comes to predictions in the future.
Yeah, very interesting. Brilliantly articulate young men from Summerhill College, says this person. Hopefully we might see some of them on the ballot paper in the future. Indeed we might. And still messages coming in relation to our interview with John Comiskey. That was so lovely to listen to, this person. Absolutely amazing what technology can do. Well done, Ocean and team, for making it happen. Someone else says, fantastic bit of technology, an example of it being used for good. And this person says, Niall, it was great to hear John Comiskey's voice. Thanks from his next door neighbour of many years ago in Doon Kelly. John is an inspiration to all his family and friends. God bless him. That's from Maureen Clancy. Right, nice to see young people getting involved.
Very good, fantastic that they're here, and I hope some others over the course of the couple of days will get in from some of the other schools as well, and they're very articulate. They've nothing to learn in that sense. They have their own very strong views, and they're correct, and it's good to see them engaging in the process. And Niall, it's important to say, I think, on behalf of us all on this side of the table, that you're sitting here for the whole day. We've all had breaks for convenience breaks and food and so on, and you haven't moved. And you're the key to this with your team, who aren't on camera. Yatsik here on my right, and Cormac Carroll and Kieran Carty, and Kevin Blessing and Austin O'Callaghan and John Lynch, who are the ones that are making all of this happen. And it's easy for us. We're getting the front row seats and being able to give a view, but take a break whenever we want. So I think your listeners need to know the team that are there, yourselves, none of them taking any breaks, none of them doing anything. It doesn't look like we'll be out of here before midnight tonight, and God knows it could be the same tomorrow. So thanks to you all.
Yeah, well, I do very little. I just talk, but it's. Oh no, well, they make all the difference. I mean,
it's very much follow on from the local elections and the professionalism, and it was very evident with the reaction, and I wrote that even today.
No, it doesn't. It doesn't happen by accident. I can tell you. These guys put a lot of effort into this day. It goes on for months.
The technology, Niall, that it takes to run it, is unreal. And to set it up and make sure that you don't have any breakdowns or anything.
Yeah.
I think that the technical guys, you can't express how confident they are in doing it.
Yeah.
And knowing that if there's any hitch, they can solve it right away. It couldn't be like permanent TSB yesterday morning.
No, I heard about that. All right, there was a lot of panicked people.
Well, but the panic was.
Oh, their app went down, wasn't that it?
Yeah. But this is what technology is about.
Yeah.
And this is what the long-term worry about technology is. Can it be manipulated?
Yeah.
There's no doubt in my mind that our way of our democracy is the most transparent democracy in the world when it comes to voting. Absolutely, totally transparent. Everything is above board. Whereas you see some of these places where it's electronic voting and the whole lot. I'll tell you one thing, Mr. Putin or Mr. Xi wouldn't be too long upsetting the apple cart if they had access to it.
Yeah, you're absolutely right, and lots can go wrong, John. I can tell you, lots can go wrong, but
to be able to,
it
if
very
something
seldom
goes
does,
wrong,
thankfully.
But if something goes wrong, you have the technical people there who are able to sort it. That's the important thing.
Yeah. You're on the case, okay. Right, okay. What else are people? Yeah, just people again, just wondering what time. We don't know what time. Not too far away, I would have thought, for a first count. And as Mark said earlier, he was talking to the returning officer. A few more eliminations, and we'll be out of here maybe by 11:30 tonight. But John Ellis, you think it's going to be a long day again tomorrow?
I think it's going to get long. I do think that. Because you'll end up with a situation where you might have a surplus maybe of 200 or 300, and there might be only 100 between two of the candidates.
Yeah.
So at that stage, then you're into the real slow-paced job.
Or if you had a Chris McManus elimination earlier than expected, that will give Martin Kenny a big surplus, and then we're into the distribution of a big surplus in the middle of the whole lot. So it could be protracted.
Right, okay. We've a very quick break to take, and we'll be back with more in a moment.
Welcome to Clayton Hotels, where every second is yours. Clayton Hotels, where it's personal.
As a business, we are operating in as green a fashion as possible, so solar panels was the obvious choice. And Solar Generation, they're a local based company. We've heard good things about them, so they were an obvious choice for us to go and get a quote from them. We compared what they had to offer against other solar providers, and it really just became quite obvious that they should be the company we partner with on this journey to a more sustainable operating system. The grants that are associated with taking on a project like this play a huge part in our decision-making process. They obviously radically reduce the payback period, so the subsidies that you're getting from government in the installation and then your accelerated capital allowances play a huge part, and definitely so far Solar Generation have delivered everything they said they'd do. Everything's been done in a timely and professional manner, so no hesitation whatsoever in recommending Solar Generation.
When plumbing problems strike, who can you count on in the Northwest? Nordic Plumbers, that's who. From boiler services and installation to heating system upgrades, Nordic Plumbers are your first call for all your plumbing needs. Visit us online at nordicplumbers.ie or call 083 38 55 812 and get a free quote today. Nordic Plumbers, just one call or click away. For all your plumbing needs, head to nordicplumbers.ie today. RGI and Offtech registered.
Awaiting the official first count announcement here in the Sligo-Leitrim constituency. We've had the first tally for the past 7 hours now, but still no sign of announcement. We will bring you that as soon as it comes our way. Let's go down to John. He's joined by councillors Brendan Barry of Leitrim, Liam Brennan of Sligo.
Yes, indeed, Liam Brennan, who ran in the summer elections just gone by for Fianna Fáil. Let's start off here on a Fianna Fáil perspective, first of all. And we're just talking about this off air. You know, running those three parties, running those three candidates, the party strategy, many would say risky, but it's kept you in the mix for 2 seats here, and it's expected to do so right up to the business end of the count.
Yeah, John, I suppose our three candidates geographically were well spread out. Leitrim, South Sligo, Edel, Sligo and North Sligo. So it was well positioned there. A lot of people would ask the question, was it wise or not? But let's see what the transfers come from our Sligo Town candidates and see where they go. But Edel is still in there also along with Eamon.
Yeah, I know we'll run the risk of maybe going back over and repeating myself here on this, but there's no doubt about it. When it comes to the transfers of maybe the eliminations of some of those candidates that's in that cluster that are geographically based around the Sligo area, that is going to have a big part to play on the destination of the fourth and final seat.
Yeah, well, as I said, the town's votes will transfer within the town first before it spreads out through the likes of maybe South Sligo or Leitrim and that. So, you know, Marian Harkin's vote is there too. So until the first candidates and second candidates get eliminated, you won't know what the real picture is.
Yeah.
So
making definite predictions at this stage, something you'd probably advise against?
I wouldn't.
Hesitant?
I'm hesitant yet to make anything.
Yeah.
Let's see how the transfers go, and as I say, we've good candidates. Fianna Fáil has three good candidates spread geographically, and I think there's a good possibility there of a.
I know everything can be very parochial in
my
politics.
glass is always half full now, John. So, you know.
Okay, I know everything can be very parochial in politics, and you'd be very much focusing on what's taking place here today. But overall, it seems that Fianna Fáil are doing a little bit better than what the national exit poll would have suggested last night, and maybe Shin Fein not quite doing as well. We'll call to Brendan on that in a moment, but give me the Fianna Fáil perspective on that.
Yeah, well, I suppose as we went round on the door, you could see from the electorate that people were generally happy with the government possibly there at the moment. Nothing too like the problems of housing and health were there, but you could see that it wasn't totally anti-government. But although it was, you see candidates today coming out that possibly was an anti-government vote as well in different areas.
All right, okay. Let's go to Councillor Brendan Barry, Ballinamoor Municipal District Councillor for Sinn Féin, based in Drumshanbo. Brendan, let's look at it from the Sinn Féin perspective. And at this stage, everyone really very much wondering, would it be possible to pull off the second seat here? What's your view on it in this moment in time?
Yeah, well, I think it's still possible. There's a huge amount of vote there to be distributed from candidates in Sligo Town, and the hope would be that they would stay close into Sligo Town and that Chris should benefit from them. And I suppose with Gino Boyle there and Declan Bree giving support to both Gino and Chris, we would hope that there would be a lot of those left votes that would keep left and transfer strongly to Chris. I suppose that's the hope, and I suppose strong showing there for both Martin and Chris. I suppose Martin is in second place there in first preferences. Chris is in fifth, so it's a good position to be in with so large amount of votes to be distributed from all the candidates below that. So I suppose we'll have to wait and see. It's with so many candidates at the moment and so many votes all spread out among all the different candidates, it's very hard to call it yet, but there are several candidates there in play for the last seat.
All right, from a Sinn Féin perspective, the big criticism maybe after the last election was the fact that you didn't run enough of candidates. This time round, 2 candidates, so as a result of that, it was never going to be likely that Martin Kenny would enjoy the same success that he enjoyed 5 years ago, obviously with Chris McManus in the field this time round. When we look at the campaign, a strange campaign in some ways for Sinn Féin, a little bit slow to get going, then a lot of momentum. The signs were very promising last night, but it seems that the exit poll perhaps inflated the party a little bit too much, and you've almost swapped positions with Fianna Fáil. Would that be a fair assumption of what has been a kind of a strange campaign?
Yeah, I suppose in some ways the campaign wasn't that eventful at all. People maybe I was talking about the election every day of the week because that was all was on my mind, but I was hearing from different people that were saying that there was very little talk about it in pubs or different places out and about. But I suppose as the campaign got closer, we were rising. We felt on the doors that the thing was better than what we were at in the polls, and the polls there about a week or two did show that, and we of course hoped that the momentum was with us and that it was going to continue with us in the final week, and that maybe we might even get higher than what those polls were showing. But going by the exit polls, it did kind of place us fairly well, but today we're down a little bit. But I suppose there's a margin of error there in all these polls, and it's probably still within that, but it's all the parties was there or thereabouts, and I suppose Fianna Fáil probably had a lot more sitting TDs going again, and that's probably going to work to their advantage.
Okay, already talk and speculation is beginning in relation to what the next government is going to be. And Liam, on that already, the Fianna Fáil party leader, Micheál Martin, has come out and just to quote Niall, what he said a little bit earlier, Micheál Martin said that it could be even maybe into the new year before a new government is formed at this stage, which isn't that far away. So the talks about potential governments, and Micheál Martin has come out time and time again and said that he couldn't see Fianna Fáil going into government with Sinn Fein. What would your view be on that? Is it a bit narrow-minded to rule out a party straight away and almost put all your eggs in the one basket, which will be Fine Gael, maybe propped up with a few independents, as what's looking like the case at the minute?
Yeah, well, I suppose the word on the ground really is you're talking about the two main parties possibly there again, with the help of possibly a few independents, possibly ex-Fianna Fáil or Fine Gael independents, which would possibly make a fairly strong government. I suppose party-wise, I didn't hear that deadline of Micheál Martin saying he wasn't going in with Sinn Fein. We didn't have any major vote on that. I suppose the beliefs of Micheál Martin was that Sinn Féin have different views to how Fianna Fáil would have about running governments and that. So I suppose if there was some sort of compromise there, maybe.
Is it helpful for a party leader to be making those remarks without a general consultation with all party members?
Yeah, well, I suppose you'd have to be. I suppose it's going on the beliefs of the party, like and the beliefs of Sinn Féin's party. We have different views there. So, but you'd imagine if there was a compromise there, people is going to give a mandate to Sinn Féin, and it should be listened to as well. So, yeah, maybe a little early for
too early for that type of talk.
Just around, I'd say on the general canvas, John. Before you go, I want to commend all the canvassers that came out and supported their candidates in such bad weather and conditions and storm burst and all that. And only for those canvassers came out, and even those canvassers there, 10 and 20 years older than myself, making a huge effort for each candidate. And it's them in canvassers that came out and has these candidates here tonight and has the votes in the box and all that. Sometimes they're unsung heroes and forgotten about. So well done to them for trying to make a stable government again.
Fair point. It was a big team effort all round. Just on that point of future governments, would you be in any ways confident, Councillor Brendan Barry, that Sinn Féin could form a government the next time round, going on the early data that you're receiving?
For this election now, I suppose Fianna Fáil and Fine Gael seems to be wedded together now, and I suppose even before the election they seemed very clear that they were prepared to work together and transfer together to try and get back in together in government again. So I suppose it's looking like they were gearing up to go together even before the election. So I suppose we need to get a huge increase in our vote. We'll talk to other left-leaning parties to see who is prepared to come along with us. Obviously, we want to try and get into government to implement the policies that we believe is the right way that the country should go to try and solve so many issues. We believe that they won't be solved and will actually get worse if the two governing parties continue with the way they're going. Maybe they may listen to our ideas and try and take some of them on board, but we want to be able to be in government because we have worked out the ideas and we believe that we would be the right ones to deliver on those if we could get into government.
And presuming we have a council election before the next general election, people would tell you that it's easier to regain and retain your seat as a councillor if you're in the opposition parties, and sometimes councillors pay for the crimes of the party at national level. But does it come to a stage where, you know, you've been in opposition and as a councillor for a period of time that it becomes frustrating, that you'd love maybe a period of government and you'd have access obviously to government ministers and key positions maybe to implement change, implement reform in your own respective areas? Would you love to see that come into fruition, that you'd have that opportunity to deliver?
I'd love to be able to deliver, but not for the party, for the people that I represent. I'm meeting people all the time that their sons and daughters has gone to Australia. They can't afford to buy a house or rent a house, and they don't see the prospect of ever owning a home. People getting blood tests, having to pay for them now, and there's so many different people struggling from day to day, and it's them people that I'd love to get into Sinn Féin for, to get into government, to deliver for them and improve their qualities of life here in Ireland, and try and bring so many of the people that has left our country and so well educated and people that we need. We want to improve the country here so that those people will come back.
All right, okay. Well, I know you could be back here for a while tomorrow. Who knows, maybe even Monday, the way things are looking. Definitely won't be all wrapped up tonight. But for the moment, we will definitely at some stage catch up with you later. Thank you so much indeed for joining us here. There you go. Those are the views, Niall, that we've just had there from Councillor Brendan Barry and indeed from Liam Brendan as well in the Tommy Curry area who contested the last local election. So thank you both indeed for joining us. With that, Niall, we'll hand back to you.
Thanks for that, John. It is now 10 to 10. We're still awaiting the first count here from the Sligo Leitrim constituency in the Clayton Hotel. And it's difficult. I mean, you've all been through it yourselves. It can be very tiring waiting for counts, John McCartan, can't it?
Oh, absolutely, and particularly when you don't know your fate.
Yeah.
I remember going home from a count at one stage thinking, this is not that it's a dead duck, but we're not going to see much happening before the night is out. And I had just lay down in the bed when Martin Kenny rang me to come back to Carrick and Shannon, and I spent the rest of the night till 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning waiting, and it takes a lot out of you.
Yeah.
And I do have terrible sympathy for the people that are here. It's not too bad for us. We're hurlers on the ditch today, but it's a very tough place for the candidates.
Yeah, and what's happening, of course, John Ellis, is very serious, but there's an entertainment aspect to this as well, is there not?
Well, you see,
it's a bit of sport for a lot of people.
Of course, it's sport for a lot of people, and we're the entertainers, and they see us as stirring the pot a little on and off.
Well, you were well able to do that there a few months ago at the local election.
I wouldn't do anything.
No. I think you put Sinn Féin in their place about their candidate strategy, I think, in Leitrim.
Well, it was a fact.
Yeah.
Because Kerrigan had been blocked. And the amazing thing is, had Kerrigan been allowed to run, James Gilmartin wasn't running.
Yeah, because they are friends, isn't that right?
Yes, and James Gilmartin had basically said that if Kerrigan was nominated, he wasn't going under any circumstances. And Sinn Féin were protecting Pádraig Fallon, he was protecting himself, and I don't blame any fella for protecting himself. But I just wonder at that stage, would they have been able to get two, or would it be a fact that the seat would have transferred maybe from Fallon to Kerrigan, or Fallon holding on? You don't know.
Yeah.
But to bring in, as I said at the time, a token candidate, because that's what was done, and it has been done by all parties at different times. There's no doubt. But Fine Gael made a bags of it, because Mitchell should have been the Fine Gael candidate.
Yeah, no seat as we know, isn't that right?
Yeah, but Mitchell should have been the Fine Gael candidate.
Yeah.
And they blocked him. I think he was blocked at HQ.
Yeah. But I guess ideologically, Mitchell had shifted well away from.
Yeah, he had contested conventions before, isn't that right?
Yeah,
hadn't been selected. So you think he moved away from the?
Yeah, well, I think that Eddie, had been a Fine Gael supporter, but he got involved in a number of campaigns that did certainly shift his ideological needle in a direction that wasn't pointing the same way as Fine Gael's, and I'm not saying there's anything wrong with that, but I don't think he was going to be a viable Fine Gael candidate, even though he was electable. But he certainly his politics just wasn't Fine Gael at the time. And again, it was a sad day that we couldn't get somebody, to take a seat where Sean and Frank had left
lost 2 seats.
Yeah,
there you go.
It's an amazing to think that there's 3 independent councillors in that area, and actually that affected Marian Harkin today.
Why do you say that, John?
I would see Phelan Gordon not have put in the same effort for her as he would have put in beforehand. I might be wrong, but there was very little talk of him being involved, whereas he had...
I stand corrected, and Phelan will be on like a shot if I'm wrong, but I think Phelan... he was certainly associated with Michael Clark. I saw a few pictures on Facebook where they were certainly having meetings. Now, that doesn't suggest that he was campaigning for him, but there was a connection, I think, with Michael Clark, I'm pretty sure.
Well, you see, this is what I'm saying to you.
Yeah.
This is where it might be only a couple of hundred votes, but these couple of hundred votes, like the snowball, doesn't belong gathering.
They make a difference.
They make a difference. Like, you can... The one thing in politics is you can't afford to throw any fellow overboard if he's half middling at all. You have to stay with him and keep him with you. Even he might be annoying you to the high dose, but you have to live with him.
Yeah.
Well, Marian would have needed to keep the like of Phelan Gurn in Manorhamilton, the sort of hometown, homegrown, independent councillor, right in her hometown. And she definitely would have needed to have Phelan actively seen to be supporting her. And, we have talked about this earlier on today. The amount of independent local candidates makes it difficult for a national candidate to steer a path through that.
Yeah, and you see, the other thing is Phelan Gordon's background would be Fianna Fáil, totally Fianna Fáil. Like his uncle Larry McGowan was on the council with me, the late Larry McGowan. And
Larry was an independent councillor, was he not?
We started off with Fianna Fáil, and then he became an independent.
Yeah. And I never knew he was connected to Larry. But there you go, you learn something new every day.
He's a nephew.
Yeah. Another question people wanted to know, Mark McSharry, is who decides on the electoral strategy? Is it the local constituency director of elections or the national director of elections?
In recent times, the candidates themselves.
The candidates themselves?
Yes.
So, I mean...
Everyone for themselves.
Yeah, it's been sort of free for all the last number of elections. You see, there was always a bit of sneaking over the mountain that went on, and certainly between 2011 and 2013 I was in the Senate, or 2016 I was in the Senate on my own, and I sort of tried to provide a service like a TD running. I think we were running 13 clinics a week in 3 different counties, and then when it came to... And I don't think anybody in Fianna Fáil at that time worked as hard as they did, because for the first 2 years after 2011, nobody wanted to look in the direction of anybody from Fianna Fáil.
Yeah.
And so when it came up then for conventions and all of the rest of it, and I remember Jerry O'Connor was the director of elections, and he had a particular view, let's say, and he said, we'll sit down now and we'll split the areas. And I said, we will not split the areas. We'll
I will now deal with the remaining doubtful papers. There's literally a handful. It'll take about 5 minutes at most. So if the candidates or agents would come up again on the left-hand side, and we'll have it done very shortly. Thank you.
Yeah, so, but I had said, no, we won't be splitting the areas, because, I had spent, 5 years going to Tubbercurry and 5 years going to different places or whatever. So I said, look, let everybody go wherever they think there's a vote. And, if I come across a number one, I'm not going to be trying to change it. Nobody's stupid enough to be doing that. And certainly you'd canvass closer to your main areas. But there were sort of, West Sligo, Eamon would have had a vote, I had a vote.
Yeah.
North Leitrim, Eamon had a vote, I had a vote. Paddy had a vote, Shane had a vote, in those elections. So if there's a vote there, go and get it. I wasn't going to be wasting time around Ballymote, and Eamon Scanlon wasn't going to be wasting time in the Ursula boxes. Whatever he was going to get there, he was going to get there without coming,
I remember the consternation when the rumour went out that Ray was canvassing in West Cavan. There was shock.
Which he was.
Yeah.
He was, as was I.
Yeah.
No, not a huge pile. Not a huge pile, but we were, yeah, absolutely. And again, back to earlier, the strategy at that time, Paddy was put in the field very, very late in that election, and for all the world, if okay, I can say it from this remove now. The ideal strategy from a Fianna Fáil perspective in elections is a strong South Leitrim candidate and a strong Sligo candidate.
Yeah.
But that's the ideal strategy.
Yeah. Although one of the reasons I ask, and I'm not putting John McCartan on the spot here, but seemingly there were a lot of Leitrim-based candidates, Fine Gael candidates asked to run, and they declined to run. That's, again, I'm not putting you on the spot about that, but I think that's generally known, wasn't it, for various reasons.
Yeah. And I guess, like, I know we have talked about a perfect strategy could see 2 seats, but nobody really foresaw 2 seats for Fine Gael.
Mm-hmm.
And everybody believed that Frank didn't need as much help as normally a candidate from outside the area would need. So therefore it was going to be a rather thankless task.
Yeah.
You were never going to get the second seat, and you weren't even going to be credited with securing the 1 seat. So there wasn't much bounty in it. Lots of hardship and lots of annoyance, but not much bounty in it. So I guess it was difficult to find the candidate from among who you would think would be the obvious ones to go to. But again, those people are not all that plentiful anymore. This is not the job it used to be. And I know we had a journalist here listing off the amount of money you can make in it. There's easier ways to make money than running for the Dáil.
Yeah, okay, it's 10 o'clock, we better take a break. We're also told by this, we'll have to check with Phelim. Someone else saying he was canvassing with Eamon Scanlon, so there you go.
Who was?
Phelim. So,
he was, yeah.
Well, there you go. We'll have to check, we better not be taking his name.
I don't know that he was going door to door with anybody.
Yeah.
I mean, he certainly participated in some online stuff with Michael Clark and also with
Yeah,
him.
he did, yeah.
And also
yeah.
with him.
Well, there you go. All right, well, we'll double check with Phelim before the night is out. Back in a moment.
Welcome to Clayton Hotels, where every second is yours. Clayton Hotels, where it's personal.
When plumbing problems strike, who can you count on in the Northwest? Nordic Plumbers, that's who. From boiler services and installation to heating system upgrades, Nordic Plumbers are your first call for all your plumbing needs. Visit us online at nordicplumbers.ie or call 083 38 55 812 and get a free quote today. Nordic Plumbers, just one call or click away. For all your plumbing needs, head to nordicplumbers.ie today. RGI and Offtech registered.
I find Solar Generation very good to work with, very patient, very friendly, and I think if it was not a local installer, it would have been more difficult to get people to come back and check things up. So shop local was really important for us, but also because the grant was available and that was a nice incentive. But we love looking at the app and seeing how much money we make every day when the sun shines. The grant application process, Solar Generation were there to help us, so it was very, very easy relatively. I'd highly recommend working with Solar Generation. Local firm, great to support, local company and local staff.
Right, okay, another 45 minutes we're told before the first count, so around 11:15 for those who are staying up to watch proceedings and listen to proceedings. 45 minutes before the first count announcement. We're told that they will end proceedings maybe at 11:30, so I don't know if there'll be a few eliminations after that. Who knows? But no first count until about 45 minutes from now. Sinn Féin Councillor Thomas Healy, Sligo Councillor Thomas Healy is with us. Welcome, Thomas.
How are you?
Not too bad at all. How are you getting on?
Grand now, very good. Just looking at the results now, it's very positive for us.
Yeah. I haven't heard nationally. Are you talking about locally or nationally?
Locally, I'm happy with the way things are going now so far.
Yeah. Not beyond the bounds of the possibility of 2 seats.
No, it's something
not completely.
No, but I heard John earlier on talking about the local elections and about the local elections and that. But look, if you look at Sinn Féin, how we did in the local elections, we held on to our seats and we had extra candidates in the areas, and that showed today when we ran. We've seen the vote in Sligo on that, and also in Leitrim. Does mean we increased our council votes there. So it's I think it's looking positive anyways for us.
Yeah. So how did you manage it? Tell us the insider's guide.
Well, the insider guide is that you have people on the ground and you go out and you do your work. And as I says, we put a belief in people. And that's what people wanted. People wanted change. And that's what we were heading for. We wanted to change. The reason we put on 2 candidates in this area is because we want to see a government. Sinn Féin wants to be in government. And we know this area here, does mean we're in an area of transition. Nothing's going to change unless we change it. And so that's why we want it. And we want to be in power. And to be in power, you have to have seats and you have to have numbers. And that's why we wanted to make sure. And as I says, Martin ran here in 2020. We've seen the vote he got. And there was an opportunity there. He took 6,000 votes out of Sligo. If we had a Sligo candidate, we knew, well, we'd be able to get 6 and maybe increase on that. So.
You lost the convention. You were defeated at the convention.
That's right, yeah.
Is it difficult to put that behind you and come out and support other candidates in the interest of the party?
No, because I am a party man. That's what you do. It's about putting yourself forward. As I says, I'm still a councillor. Our aim here is to get a TD. It didn't work for me that day. The lads that are sitting here were in the same position many of the time. That's what you do. You're a party man. It's not about Thomas Healy or it's not about Chris McManus. It's about Sinn Féin, it's about the party. And most importantly, it's about the people that you're representing and how we can represent them better.
Yeah, they're a decreasing breed, though, the party men and women, aren't they?
I think. Well, look, as I says, we're looking for the next generation to come up, the young generation to come up. I say this election now, most of it was won on television debates and radio debates more than it was on the door. But people still like you coming to their house, still like you knocking on the door. And it's all local issues as well. Even though this is a general election, it all falls back to local issues. As I says, we're still talking here about the N17, the N59. All these infrastructures, our hospitals. We still have strikes in the hospital even after when this is all over. So we've a job of work to do, and it doesn't matter what party you're from.
Yeah.
We're all these people that's here today that has put themselves forward. I just had a flashback of when I was running the locals. When I'm here now talking and the candidates are up there, it's a big thing. Because what you have to realise is it's not just the person that's in it, it's their family, and they take it more personal than anything else, because they say, oh well, my dad should have got this or my brother should have got that. That's the way it is, and it's so local. Even though it's a general election, it's so local politics. And we're lucky enough, Sligo and Leitrim, we're together for so many years, and we have South Sligo in on it. But you break them down into small little parishes and small little areas. And as John Ellis says here earlier on, you can see somebody that's in an area that if they're working on it, if they're doing something, that will move into other areas, because everyone knows if you're working in your area and you're doing well, that they'll give you the support. And I suppose we're seeing that now today.
Yeah. And getting your vote out and managing your vote, you're, I won't say the experts in that, but you have it finely tuned, have you not?
Yeah, well, it doesn't happen overnight. It's a lot of work, a lot of effort, and it's about being on the ground. Fianna Fáil and Fine Gael know it better than anyone how to get the vote out and everything else.
Well,
what we do is we
work
in our areas, we work in our grounds. We have people that's working on housing estates, and we work with them closely. So when it comes to the day of getting people out, we're asking them to come out now and vote. This is the person that did the work for you. Now it's an opportunity to change things.
Okay. John, I think you were saying earlier that their vote management is admirable, locally and nationally.
Yeah, I've always admired the discipline that Sinn Féin have, both with their candidates and their supporters. And, many a time we've watched elections and guessed that there's a fracture in the Sinn Féin camp, or they're not pulling well together because they may have had a contentious convention or something like that. But that never rings through on election day. Sinn Féin votes come out and they vote with the candidate that they've been asked to vote for. I'm just wondering, Thomas, do you look at it and think maybe I could have done better there, and that do you wonder would you be in a stronger position had you been selected?
Look, that's only a wonder. If what? You know what I mean? Who? You can't go that way.
Yeah.
As I says, we are where we are. We're still in with an opportunity to get a last seat. We as a party, the way we're brought up and the way I am as a Sinn Féin representative is, you're out there to work for the party. That's what it's about. We're in there to make sure, try and make people's life different and help them in any way we can. And we know here in the Northwest we have a job of work to do because we are left behind. And the only way that's going to change that is, and as it says, but whoever gets elected out of here today and whoever goes up to represent us, they have to represent us as a whole and make sure that we get what we need in this area because we're left behind.
I think John Ellis would like to have a word.
I think that what has happened is that Sinn Féin have copied what Fianna Fáil were 30 years ago, when Fianna Fáil was able to manage their vote. And they've also brought down the Belfast theory, where they knew every one of their votes on a street and they were able to divide them equally when it came to MLA elections or anything. And that has been brought down. It's a carbon copy of how Fianna Fáil would have operated 30 years ago, and Fine Gael for that matter, where everyone knew where everyone was coming from. But now it's at the stage that nobody knows where anyone is coming from, bar a hard core in any of the parties, and you're dependent then on that widening out to pick up soft votes from the others. But there's no doubt about it. Sinn Féin have really copied what Fianna Fáil were 30 years ago.
Yeah, and you know what? There was a programme on television there one night where it showed a man standing on the top of a hill, and I'm pointing out, well, that's a Fianna Fáil house, that's a Fine Gael house, and that's the way it is. But I mean, the thing about it is, look, as well as being trying to bring in your own vote, you have to be transferred friendly as well.
Oh yeah,
and that's what we'll see now more than anything else in this election. Is you can top the poll, and you had it yourself one time where when you top the poll, and as it says, you need to be transferred friendly. So as it says, that's where we hope to make gains here. If you look at the Sligo vote that's left there, so I'd say we should be good and transfer friendly, so we will make grounds there too.
Yeah. All right, Mark, you want to say anything?
Well, the Sinn Féin common structure is still intact.
Yeah.
The Fianna Fáil one is highly fragmented because of one member, one vote being brought in the main. So there was, I could split. There's 12 commons in Sligo town historically. You could split those up street by street. The people in that common would know precisely who lives in each house, what they need, if there was an issue on the street. Not that you wouldn't call to everybody, of course you would in a canvass or whatever, but you'd know where you were dealing, and sort of that the historic joke was, the two organisations were Fianna Fáil and the GAA, 70 years ago or whatever, and little by little that's gone. Sinn Féin still have that structure, and when it works exceptionally well,
Sean says, well done to Sinn Féin on their performance in this election. If we had Thomas Healy on the card with Martin and Chris, he would have got through. So that's the three candidate strategy. He does great work, so you've got one supporter out there anyway, at least.
That's the brother.
Yeah. Okay. And all right. Okay. So you still think that Chris McManus still not out of the race for a second seat?
Well, I hope not. Don't you mean? As I said, it's something that we planned. It's something that we said. Don't you mean? We ran one candidate strategy last time. We wanted to run two. We want to make a difference. If we want to be in government, it's down to a number game. And as I says, it's shown here now today. Don't you mean that we're in for a shot at maybe the last seat. Martin has done exceptionally well, but Martin, I've worked with him down through the years. He's a great TD. He's easy to work with, and as I says, he will deliver as well. So as I says, it's up to the people. The people have to say. It's counting out the votes now and seeing exactly where we are.
Okay, thanks for joining us.
Thanks very much.
Councillor Thomas Healy, Sinn Féin Councillor Thomas Healy. Somebody else has been on to say, a great show that you're all giving all day. I've been sitting down as long as ye. I have Larry McGowan of Glencar was a Fianna Fáil Leitrim County Councillor for years, and when Neil Blaney broke with Fianna Fáil and went independent, Larry joined with Neil Blaney until his retirement from Leitrim County Council. Phelim Gurn's mother was Larry's sister. They were lovely people, says Michael in Manorhamilton.
Exactly.
So Michael is absolutely right. So he was a Blaney man, and that goes back to the independent Fianna. We were asking Mark earlier, if there's such a thing as independent Fianna Fáil anymore, but that was the independent.
Yeah.
No, there was the Blaneys. They were referred to as the Blaneys. There was when I was starting in 2002. There was about 7 councillors in Donegal County Council. 2 were actual Blaneys, but the other 5 were affectionately referred to as the Blaney councillors, but they were by different names. They were independent Fianna Fáil.
Yeah. Well done to all the panel all day, says this person. They're making sense of a very complicated process and great insight from all. So I don't think you just understand the service you do provide for people out there. And we're always mindful of the fact that, people maybe are experiencing counts for the first time and don't know anything about this process and how it works and the fascination of it all. And somebody else says, can you tell Mark McSharry, it's a great shame, I'm sure you're fed up listening to this, it's a great shame he's not running anymore. He was a brilliant TD, as was his dad. My own father, Eugene McAllister, passed away a couple of years ago and always told me about the great Ray McSharry and what he did for him.
Well, thanks very much. Ray and I had very different opportunities, we did the best we could, and thanks very much. And I had my time, and now it's time for fresh legs.
Right, okay. John Perry, have you any...
I've listened to the national...
Well, that's what I was asking you for. What's happening nationally?
I think listen to Thomas Healy, and likewise the credit to Ray McSharry indeed in America as well. I think that...
What's happening nationally?
He got the work done, and people acknowledged that he was a conviction politician. He followed his beliefs, and I think that he was well recognised for that. I think that he might have paid a price for it as well, but I think that he was he followed his convictions, and that is a commendable thing to do.
So the Harris hop is still there, is it, John? Are you hearing?
Well, I think that I wouldn't call it a hop now, but I think that it's
a bunny hop.
But I think that in honesty, I see it's quite relieved compared to what you must remember. He went out with 17 TDs, and it's a big ask to there was 35 seats. There was 18 new deputies to fill that 35. And I suppose that is no mean achievement, really. In fairness, when you consider being an incumbent, and Fianna Fáil had that advantage, they had all incumbents, so that when you filled that vacancy of 18 new deputies, and I believe that from what I hear on the national year was that he will be over 40 seats, so that in one sense it has to be a good day in the office for him now, to be honest.
So Fine Gael over 40. Micheál Martin is saying 45 for Fianna Fáil.
That's 85.
Is it 87? 88. So you're not too far away if that was the case.
Well, I think that if you look at that combination, I suppose that is it's a very solid combination. And while I've no doubt they will, and they always have the Michael Lowry, they always have independent votes that they get. They have the Healy Rays, and they have the Michael Lowry, and they have a couple of the independents that are very much they have an agreement. They have an agreement with Fianna Fáil or the government to get they're like Jackie Healy Ray. They meet the party whip every week and they get what they want. Do you know what I mean? So to a fair degree, that exists for a few of the passive independents. So I think that to clearly indicate the Social Democrats and Labour, I think you'll have they'll have several choices there, and there's three blocks. I think that will be very anxious to sit down and negotiate with them. You'll have the Michael Fitzmaurice, you have the Labour, and you have the Social Democrats.
Yeah. Okay. And if it was the case, just for example, just say Fine Gael get 40, Fianna Fáil get 45. Rotating Taoiseach is the same arrangement as the last time, is it?
I think that there's no way that Simon Harris would agree to without a parity of esteem. I mean, regardless, it's 8 seats of a difference, because he's going in honesty. And Micheál Martin, he's quite. That would be calling his bluff big time. So I think the ground rule from the start would be a rotating Taoiseach. Whatever else comes after that, nothing that will be on the table. Number one, if that's not on the table, no deal.
Yeah.
Then you have, if that were to be the situation, then you have a real problem for both Fine Gael and Fianna Fáil, because one of them then has to decide that they're going to go with Sinn Fein. to make the numbers, and that is the impossible. So from looking ahead from the outside, at the moment, we saw it before, the game can change, but I think that if the numbers, I'm inclined to agree with John, but if the number was to go past 8, if it was to go to 10, I could then see it being a problem.
Well, I think honestly, if you look at it subjectively, this game will not change. You see, the indications there at the moment are on 85 seats, you know, and Micheál Martin may have 5 seats more, potentially will have. But regardless of all of that, Micheál Martin will be the incoming Taoiseach, but Harris will have the 2 years and a half outgone, my opinion.
There's a lot of seats.
Yeah,
a lot of seats to come in. Yeah,
absolutely. Yeah, and I'm even just reading here on Nash in the Morning Our Own. Some counts have been suspended for the night already, or been put off until tomorrow. So it will be a couple more days before we get a clear picture, I think, of how things are going to happen. We were talking about. Somebody said no. Sorry. We were talking a few moments ago about the loss of the 2 Fine Gael council seats in the Manor-Hamilton elected area. One of them belonged to Councillor Sean McDermott, the former councillor, now former councillor, who's with John.
Yes, indeed, he hasn't gone away. You know, Sean McDermott, he's here with us in the Count Centre tonight. And let's pick up on that point that Niall and the Palin were making there. Fine Gael were probably looking at this time round from a Frank Feehan perspective. Obviously, Boyle and the North Roscommon area was gone. And to touch on the point there that the panel made, the North Leitrim area, the loss of 2 long-standing experienced councillors, such as yourself and Frank Dolan, that was a hammer blow, you know, for Frank Feehan looking ahead. So, how did the Fine Gael vote hold up in North Leitrim in your absence, Sean?
Well, I suppose, John, the fact that Frank had done so much work in North Leitrim, and a lot of projects was done in North Leitrim, a lot of projects was done in all of Leitrim. I think, you know, and in fairness, in my time as a councillor there as well, like Michael Ring, Heather Humphreys carried that work on. So a lot of money came in, and that made a big difference as well when Frank went out to canvass, you know.
And that made it probably an easier sell. The one thing we keep hearing about Frank Feehan, that it was a single candidate strategy that Fine Gael decided to use, but yet he was very easy for him to pick up transfers across the board. He was, I suppose, voter friendly.
Yeah, he was transfer friendly, and you could see that, and I was expecting that, and that's the way it worked out, like, you know. So it was a good day for Frank, and I suppose, in fairness, the government in general, like, you know, we've been through tough times over the last number of years, and I thought there might be a backlash, but there really wasn't, like, you know. So I suppose it's all you play for, you know. There is surprises here as well, like, so it's amazing, like.
Talk to me a little bit about the constituency in general now. At this stage, the word on the ground here will be very much Frank Feehan, Eamon Scanlon, Martin Kenny, and then there's a huge, maybe a degree of unpredictability in that 4th and final seat. You're a shrewd veteran of elections now at this stage. You've been here, down this block many times, down this road, around the block many times. How do you see that final seat going?
I suppose it's too early to call, but I suppose, in fairness, Marian has to make up a lot of ground, and it could be hard to see that happening. But she's still there. Like, I know Michael Clark from years ago. I was on a cross-border body with Michael Clark, It-Band, so I would be very friendly with Michael Clark. But I was surprised the vote he got. But the funny thing about it was John, I met him at a funeral a few weeks ago, and the election campaign had only started. And we had a chat, and I was asking him how he was getting on, and he said to me, myself and my campaign has 6,000 people canvassed. And
6,000?
6,000, and the canvass was only starting, like, so it blew me away, like, to think that he had so much work done, you know.
Yeah. Well, where do you feel that's coming from? And is it almost like the Michael Fitzmaurice model replicated, and Fitzmaurice has topped the poll in Roscommon and exceeded the quota again today?
It's amazing, and I suppose you can see that the group that have joined together, Michael Fitzmaurice, it has an impact, and it's gathering more votes.
Kieran Maloney in Europe,
and that was a big bonus as well, like, and it's unbelievable, like. So I suppose to see Michael getting so much votes all over the country, like, all over Sligo, Leitrim, even I suppose being from a farming background was a help for Michael as well, you know.
you can probably maybe a little bit more free to comment now in the sense that you're no longer a sitting councillor. The campaign in general for Fine Gael, how would you rate Simon Harris's performance? His mishap has been very much put down to the slump in the party support.
John, it didn't help, certainly, and in fairness, Simon is a good leader, and I think he's there for the future. But there was a couple of gaffes along the way, and that had an impact. And of course, the media would have jumped on it right away. But that's the nature of things, you know.
We had the pleasure of having you walk alongside us for the council elections in Leitrim. You're back here tonight, so you're still getting that fix when it comes to elections of being here front and centre, seeing what's going on. What's it like to be slightly maybe removed from political life at this stage, a few months out?
Well, John, I'm enjoying it. And I'm still involved, you know, with my own community, and a lot of the Ballroom of Romance is 90 years old this year, and we have celebrations going on, and we have a big dance there on the 15th of December, and you know, there's plenty of work to do in the area, and I'm still involved, and I'm hoping to have a very good weekend, because with Frank being a formality now, it seems, to be re-elected, Liverpool is playing tomorrow. You don't want to hear this, John.
Man City.
Man City. So I'll be hoping by tomorrow even to be 11 points ahead, you know.
Oh, that's a scandalous prediction. I'm just stick to the politics. I'm only joking. Look, it's fantastic to catch up with you here this evening. By the way, a final question before I let you go. As we mentioned, Damon Scandal looks to be one of those now that's going to be taking a seat here, and people have been saying it's a great comeback for him. Political comebacks, and I know you're only gone a few months now at this stage. Do you miss it, and would you ever envisage throwing the hat in the ring again?
There's nobody making phone calls for me, John.
Not that you tell us about anyways.
Thanks, Sean.
Sean, an absolute pleasure. Great to catch up with you again, and fantastic to meet you. There you go. That's Sean McDermott, a former long-serving councillor in the Manorhamilton Municipal District for many years. He's keeping the cards close to the chest now in relation to about a potential comeback. Who knows? He just might be waiting for that call.
And I knew he'd get the Ballroom of Romance in somewhere, as he always does. I didn't realise Sean was a Liverpool supporter, but there you go. So he'd be watching Liverpool, Manchester City tomorrow, instead of Martin Kenny presumably being re-elected. At this stage, we'll take a very, very quick break.
Welcome to Clayton Hotels, where every second is yours. Clayton Hotels, where it's personal.
Welcome to Solar Generation, where the power of the sun meets a greener future. We are delighted to offer personalized one-to-one solar consultations right here at our new facility. With our advanced PV software, we can remotely analyze your energy bills and property, providing you with detailed insights into the benefits of solar power. And to demonstrate our commitment to solar power, we recently installed a 15 kilowatt hybrid system with battery storage right on our own roof. Imagine the possibilities for your own home or business. By harnessing the power of the sun, you can reduce your reliance on traditional energy sources and contribute to a greener planet. Join us on this journey towards a sustainable future, powering your world today and for the generations to come. Solar Generation.
The Ocean FM car giveaway for 2024 is now live. You could be driving away in this stunning Hyundai i20 Deluxe Plus worth €25,000 for as little as €10. Fitted with all mod cons such as 16-inch alloy wheels, privacy glass, wireless phone charging and lots more. Grab your ticket now, priced at only €10. You can get 6 tickets for €50 or 10 tickets for €80. To get yours, just go to oceanfm.ie and click on the car giveaway. Best of luck.
I was just thinking, we suppose we should maybe recap on the tally figures, which we were given at 8 hours ago now, believe it or not. We're given the final tally figures, and the first count to be announced in the next 50 minutes will just confirm more or less those tally figures and where we're at. So I'll just read them out again, maybe for those who haven't been accessing them online. These are the final tally figures in Sligo Leitrim. Topping the poll, Frank Fein of Fine Gael, 8,947 votes. Martin Kenny, Shin Fein, 7,733. Michael Clark, Independent Ireland, 5,938. Eamon Scanlon of Fianna Fáil, 5,908. Chris McManus, Sinn Féin, 5,158. Edel McSherry, Fianna Fáil, 4,453. Marian Harkin, non-party, 4,307. Paddy O'Rourke of Fianna Fáil, 4,082. Marie Casserly, non-party, 2,411. Nessa Cosgrove of the Labour Party, 2,072. Jean O'Boyle, People Before Profit, 1,658. Graham Monaghan of Aintrue, 1,106. Des Guckian, non-party, 901. Michael Kelly of the Irish Freedom Party, 776. Loughin Gallagher, the Green Party, 745. Molly Camden of the Party for Animal Welfare, 415. Caroline Corcoran of Independent Ireland, 79. And Dermot McConville, a non-party, 67. So that's the final tally from Sligo Leitrim. And I was just totting up, of the 18 candidates on the ballot paper, all but 8 have appeared at the count here today. And it's for some and not for others, John Perry, isn't that it, as you know? John has his headphones on. Some people like to turn up early to count, some wait until their fate is decided or whatever.
I have to say, I've never enjoyed a count.
At all?
At all. No.
Even when you're winning?
Even when I'm winning, because, and you know, obviously it's an easier place to be when you're winning. But I have a bitter taste in my mouth about the blood sport element, about some people delighting in the gladiatorial aspect of it. And I always have sympathy for those who are not having the day they wish they were having, regardless of whether I'm winning or losing. It's definitely not a nice place to be when you're losing. You know, but I know I'm not in the majority on this, and some people just love the whole rough and tumble of a count centre, and they love watching the race unfold and the ebbing and flowing of people's fates and fortunes. But certainly I've always found it a difficult place to be.
I would certainly, I think there's very much definitely a huge interest for so many people, as well proven by the huge level of interest on with Ocean FM. People love it, and clearly when you look at it is really void of sentiment when it comes to winning elections, and you know, the winner takes all. And you know, obviously when it's the only place to be if you don't win the seat. You know what I mean, Jeremy? You walk out the count centre very much on your own. So that's I think most people. But I think a good friend of mine said, if you don't know how to lose, you don't know how to live. You know what I mean, Jeremy? So you have to, you really have to, it's about living really after the event. And I think if you're not prepared to lose, you have a problem, really. That's you go into that game and you're at the behest of the general public, and if they feel that your time has come, they'll just make the decision. That's how it goes.
John, were you told us there you used to come in early for counts, isn't that it?
Yeah, but
and stick with it.
I'll tell you, you come in and you stick with it. But because I always reckoned that after the first couple of boxes, you knew your fate. Because when I look back on it, you were then, as John McCartan said, you had the blood sport spectators from all sides who were delighted to see somebody getting crucified or lose their seat. But that element, I think, to be fair, has disappeared out of it in recent times. But in my early days, I'll tell you one thing: if there was no joy for the loser from the other side. They basically would rub it into you with sandpaper.
There was one other aspect of, and it's not an important point, but Independent Ireland added a second candidate to the Sligo Leitrim list. I think the day before the nominations closed. Caroline Corcoran, who's from Strokestown. We know very little about Caroline. why would they do that? And somebody suggested to me it was to do with, and I could be completely wrong, it was to do with gender balance quotas, and
probably was.
The party might lose out on.
Well, there is a funding model
Yeah.
that rewards people who stay within a certain gender quota, and I've always felt that that's tinkering around with the symptoms rather than going after the cause.
Yeah.
And I think, Niall, you and I had this discussion a long time ago. I think the parties need to examine why there aren't, why we haven't made an attractive environment for women to attend branch meetings and women to be involved at the very ground level in politics. And that's where we need to address the problem, not by window dressing it with gender quotas on the last day.
Yeah.
I'd agree with that.
Do you agree with gender quotas?
I
John?
don't really, because
Do you not?
I think it's box ticking, and we use it as an excuse to say we've done something, and really we haven't. You have to address the root cause of the gender bias and the inequity, and you have to find out why it's there. Not just try and you might as well be picking a scab and saying we've cured the problem.
But Niall, politics is not friendly with regards to women. Like if you were a young mother with young kids, it's impossible. And see, what happens is that the gender quotas and all that's fine. But as John says, the parties just tick the box. They add ones here and there to make up their 40%. Like you see it, they've done Donegal. Fianna Fáil added Niamh Kennedy, I think it was, or somebody in Donegal.
In the general election,
Yeah,
was it?
yeah.
Not this time now, maybe.
I think they did.
Fianna Fáil, no, she's independent. Claudia.
Claudia, yeah.
Yeah, sorry, yeah. Claudia Kennedy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like that's the sort of thing that it's basically create the quota. So it doesn't. Let's put it this way: it's grand for the optics, but it's not in the best interest of people standing in elections.
Doesn't solve the problem.
No.
Yeah. We're talking, Mark Sherry, about gender quotas, and we were just speculating on why Independent Ireland would have ran a second candidate at very
the
late
cash.
stage. Well,
and that's the wholly all of it. And
you're not beating around the bush.
And
that's
they've all done it. Fianna Fáil have done it too.
Yeah.
And frankly, it's the tokenisation of women. And saying it, maybe not in the Independent Ireland instance. Maybe she knew that she was just ticking a box for them. But I mean, I know on at least 3 other occasions, the Fianna Fáil put women out there. They're saying, yeah, we'll be supporting you or whatever. And I despise it. It's why I don't like gender quotas.
Yeah, well, you're not a fan of gender quotas either at all.
It's not that I wouldn't want more women in politics.
Yeah.
Totally, I would.
It's the wrong way to go
Totally, I
about
would,
it.
because I think they're better at it,
Mm-hmm.
and particularly in modern day politics. But I don't like this gender quota thing, for anything like that. I just don't.
Yeah.
No, I fully agree, and I mean, I play a lot of music, as you know.
King, yeah.
And I'm constantly, somebody will give you a shout and they say, we'd like you to play on such a television program, and then they'll say, so who are you playing with? And I'd say, well, the lads I usually play with, and they say, oh, no, you need to get a woman on for that. And I'm kind of thinking, well, those are the guys I play with. And really, this notion of presenting, a girl into the group doesn't do anything for the fact that there's a deficit of girls who carry on playing music after they hit their 18th or 19th or 20th birthday. You won't solve that with a gender quota on a TV program or a radio program. The way you solve that is you have to sort of look back within, say, Coltas Coireann or any of the music organisations and say, what is it about this entire environment that sees girls dropping off in their late teens? Same with football, and it's fantastic to see women's football nowadays. When I was a youngster playing football, there was nothing for girls. Now there's a great opportunity for girls to get involved in a competitive sport, wonderful sport to watch, add so much to each community, but there's a big drop off then when they get into their late teens. So there's a lot of work to be done to find out what is the legacy environments in politics and music and sport that doesn't appeal to girls once they get into their late teens. And that's where you need to address it, not with gender quotas.
All right, okay. This person says very simply, in tribute to you all, fantastic coverage, we are really enjoying it, and that's from 2 pensioners in the Ransborough area. And really, that's what it's all about, isn't it?
That's for sure.
Yeah. Right, okay, we have another break to take, and I want to get all these breaks out of the way before we get that first count announcement. Back in a moment, again, at the Clayton Hotel.
Welcome to Clayton Hotels, where every second is yours. Clayton Hotels, where it's personal.
As a business, we are operating in as green a fashion as possible, so solar panels was the obvious choice. And Solar Generation, they're a local based company. We've heard good things about them, so they were an obvious choice for us to go and get a quote from them. We compared what they had to offer against other solar providers, and it really just became quite obvious that they should be the company we partner with on this journey to a more sustainable operating system. The grants that are associated with taking on a project like this play a huge part in our decision-making process. They obviously radically reduce the payback period, so the subsidies that you're getting from government in the installation and then your accelerated capital allowances play a huge part, and definitely so far Solar Generation have delivered everything they said they'd do. Everything's been done in a timely and professional manner, so no hesitation whatsoever in recommending Solar Generation.
The Ocean FM car giveaway for 2024 is now live. You could be driving away in this stunning Hyundai i20 Deluxe Plus worth €25,000 for as little as €10. Fitted with all mod cons such as 16-inch alloy wheels, privacy glass, wireless phone charging and lots more. Grab your ticket now, priced at only €10. You can get 6 tickets for €50 or 10 tickets for €80. To get yours, just go to oceanfm.ie and click on the car giveaway. Best of luck.
Right, okay, lots of good wishes come your way, and thanks to all of you for providing all your expert analysis today, and people are very appreciative of that. Right, okay. Anybody else with any insight on national? I know a number of ministers have lost their seats, isn't that? Junior ministers, and particularly the Green Party.
Yeah, the ministers O'Brien and Oisin Smith are gone. And Rabbit looks to be in trouble.
And Rabbit's gone.
I haven't looked in on East Galway for a while, but and I'm sorry to hear that. Anne was, in my opinion, a good minister. Leo Martin was never fond of her, but the reason I liked her, she wasn't prepared to just roll over if the official said, "Minister, this is the way this is." And I remember sniggers around Leinster House when she was appointed a minister. And for me, she was one of the standout performers in her role in health with responsibility for disability, and was prepared to second guess. And indeed, where the HSE were sort of stonewalling us on respite and things like that in South Leitrim, she came to meetings and was prepared to challenge officials. Micheál isn't fond of that.
Right, okay.
No comment.
Yeah, okay.
Claire Daly and Mick Wallace both failing to attract.
Mick Wallace, he's not shaping at all, is he? Down in Wexford?
North Clare
3%.
Yeah, I think between them about 3,000 votes. Yeah. So that.
And I see that Brian Stanley as head of the poll.
I don't know if he's head of the poll. He's well up
Sean
there.
Fleming headed the poll.
Was Sean Fleming or Willie or the Spinny Gale man? Which was it?
Sean Fleming, I think. I get it up here.
Yeah. Brian Stanley is well up there. Brian
Stanley's getting elected.
Yeah, he's getting elected.
Taking the third seat, I see it here.
Yeah,
third
right,
seat.
okay.
And just one question: who won? And where's Anne Rabbit's seat going there?
Going to another Fianna Fáiler, young man.
Young Dolan.
Albert Dolan is his name.
All right, okay. Let's join John again with Michelle Brennan Shiabo. John. We get a microphone.
Thank you very much indeed, Niall. You're very welcome back here out on the floor. As you can probably imagine at this stage, a little air of anticipation building ahead of the first count. As you mentioned, Michelle, who contested the local elections last year in Leitrim in the Manor Hamilton Municipal District on behalf of Sinn Fein, joins us. First and foremost, let's talk about the campaign. I know that you were heavily involved with down in the North Leitrim area. All in all, a very positive response. It was good to get out and meet the people again. I know only a few months on from the council election. Talk to me about some of the issues that came up on the doorsteps.
Well, the major issues really around housing, health, the crisis in the health system. Around our area, obviously the issues around CDNT and services for kids. A specific issue that really come up a few times was the special education teachers in schools, the fact that they don't have any visiting psychologists to the schools anymore, and the roles that teachers have to take on almost on a voluntary basis. That come up a few times. I think that just shows you the depth of the issues that were happening around the place, you know. The crisis in housing, I mean, and it was older people worried about grandchildren, you know, as far along the line as that, being able to build a life, really. I think that's the major thing I took away from it.
All right. When you look at the Sinn Féin vote, Michelle, that has been returned, and albeit we looked at the tally figure so far from the exit poll, in the North Leitrim area, you must be happy with how not alone Martin Kenny, the Leitrim candidate, fared out, but equally so Chris McManus.
Yeah, they've both done quite well in that area. I mean, we did quite an intensive canvass in 3 weeks. Personally, in my area, the part of the north of the county, we covered nearly the whole area. There would be one or two houses that we missed, but we tried really hard to go to the doors, speak to the people. I think it's respectful when you're asking them for something so important. You're asking them to put their trust in you, you know. So it was tight going at times. I'm a little bit tired, if truth be told, but I enjoy the canvass. I enjoy meeting people. I enjoy talking to them, and I enjoy listening to the issues. It gives you a better overview of what's happening in your own community.
Did you get the sense that people wanted change, and as a result of what we're hearing now nationally today, the way it's panning out, it could be more or less the same again? I know it's maybe too early to say. So the fact that so many people that you met want to change, but yet it seems overall the electorate have more or less voted back in what could possibly be the same government again. Definitely Fianna Fáil, Fine Gael, the Greens to a lot lesser extent is what we're hearing. Does that surprise you at all, Michelle?
I think it's a big choice to make, to change. There's a lot of allegiances there, I think, old allegiances for people, and you know, it's a big choice to make the decision to change those and take the chance. And that's really what we were asking people, to give us a chance, you know, and let's see what we can do for you. We've done well. I mean, Martin will hold the seat, hopefully. Chris is in with a good shout. For all in all, for me though, in our area, we've held a really good vote, and hopefully the bit of groundwork I did at the locals counted towards that.
Absolutely. How do you get people overall to take off the shackles, get rid of that fear of change? Not a fear of Sinn Féin, but a fear of change. How do you overcome that?
I think what we're doing on the doors, going to people, talking to them, being seen, being active in the community, talking about policy change, talking about just keep engaging. Slowly but surely, it has to come. We need to do something. I feel that we do need change. We need a bigger change now. That's my own personal feeling on that. But just keep engaging with people. I think that's the most important thing. Make them feel heard. Not try and talk them into it, but try and give them the reasons why, and just be encouraging that way, you know.
Inevitably, the whole issue of gender balance comes up at elections time and time again. The Sligo-Leitrim constituency could, and I use the word could here, be returning 4 male candidates at this time round. Now, as somebody who tried to break through in the local elections yourself, you know the challenges that's there. Would you feel sorry, say, for instance, like the likes of Marian Harkin, if she loses her seat? I know there's a long way to go. Obviously, Edel McSharry and Marie Castley and people like that, Nessa Cosgrove that have put their names, Blocking Gallagher in North Leitrim as well, that have put their names on the ballot sheets, but yet it could be 4 males. How difficult is it for female candidates at the moment?
I think statistically, it is more difficult for women. It's it is a tough thing to do. You have the responsibilities of kids and to think of maybe slightly more things. But I think it's very important that women keep coming forward. We need their voice in politics. They add a different dimension. I think it needs to be a cohesion between male and female. The women add a different voice to things, a different perspective. So yes, it is more difficult, but we have to keep trying.
Inside the last couple of hours, we've spoken to 2 of your colleagues in Sinn Fein in the North Leitrim area, and Brendan Barry in Drumshanbo and Pádraig Fallon in Drumkeeran. Neither were given up on the hope that maybe Chris McManus could land that second seat. Is that your view as well at this particular moment?
Well, yes, it would be amazing to have that. And look, there's still a lot of counting to be done, a lot of transfers to be worked out. So we're still in with the chance. If you don't have hope, you have nothing. So I think it's a real, why not? I think it's fantastic that we've come this far and a chance of 2 seats.
And finally, maybe a little bit tired at this stage, but enjoyed the campaign.
I absolutely love it. It's doing my own local election, doing the canvassing for that was one of the most positive experiences that I've had. I think outside having my children, it's one of the most positive experiences I've ever had. And this as well. I love being out meeting people and engaging and getting to know them and helping with things if I can help along the way.
Well, thank you indeed for helping us over the last few minutes here and facilitating us with this interview. Michelle Brennan Shambo, thank you so much indeed for taking the time out to speak to us.
Cheers, thank you very much.
Thank you. There you go. That's the views of Michelle Brennan Shambo, who ran in the local elections for Sinn Fein last time round. And there you heard it again, Niall. Still, the destination of that final seat, Sinn Fein adamant at this stage that Chris McManus still in there in the mix. Back to you.
All right, thanks to John and Michelle. And a bit like Neil Kinnock from many years ago, Michael Fitzmaurice is now saying he's ready for government. I see. Now, Independent Ireland have 3 seats currently, and they're projected to have anywhere between 4 and 7 after today. And of course, they've got a great chance here in Sligo Leitrim with Michael Clark, and they're also very confident about their chances in Galway West. Is that a good fit for Fianna Fáil and Fine Gael? Who
could be?
Uh,
John
Perry. And I see that Noel O'Flynn, actually, his son, Ken O'Flynn.
Yeah.
He's with Independent Ireland, and he's going to take a seat for them.
Yeah, he looks likely to take it, all right, yeah.
Yeah, is he's in Cork, is he? No?
He's son of Noel O'Flynn's, yes.
Cork, yeah, okay.
And that is quite a, it's quite a win for Ken O'Flynn, because I knew the father very well, Noel O'Flynn, so that I believe he was canvassing extensively now.
I remember you were in Argentina for a month together one time. I remember defending you.
Oh, on government on government
Remember
business.
that trip? Yeah, I was on the Joint Oireachtas Committee on Marine. And if memory serves, John, you can tell me it was yourself and
for a month.
Former Cathaoirleach of the Senate.
He does exaggerate now.
It was about a month, yeah.
But I'm very important government business. But I must say that Noel O'Flynn was a very good friend of mine and still is. So
he brought us all back a stick of rock.
That was that was in your role as chairman of the Public Accounts Committee.
No, it wasn't actually. But I think
the Department of the Marine, the Marine. I was on the committee too, but I was a new boy, so I got to go to Waterford to the tall ships. He went to Argentina for a month.
I have to tell a story in my favour. I was chair of the Public Accounts, and there was.
I defended you, though.
Pardon?
I defended you.
I was chair of the Public Accounts, and they were going to Australia, all right? And the expenses came in and most of the committee wanted to travel first class. I said, there's no way I can defend this as chair of the Public Accounts. I said it was 3 times the price. I said, if we're going, Sean Nardla was on it, and there was quite a few people on it with Dr. Mercy and Sean. I said, we have to go economy class, which we did. And when I arrived back in Dublin, the first call I got was from independent newspapers. I believe that you have been out on a trip to Australia, Melbourne. I said, yes, we have. I said, for your information, would travel economy class, Jeremy. There wasn't a word about it. But if it was the country different, it would be quite different.
And probably rightly so. What were you doing in Argentina? Do you mind me asking?
But it was down. Did you ever hear of Valparaiso? Did you ever in South America? It was. We're doing a. I was actually chair of the Marine Committee in the House at that time, and it was quite an educational trip in every sense. I can say that.
Dennis O'Donovan himself and Nolo Flynn. Yeah, it was only a month, and.
And there was a report.
No, it was a very important trip, yeah.
And there was a report produced, was there, for that?
Well, Noel Flynn was quite emphatic about it, and he held a press conference in the hotel because it was a media criticism of the trip, and he was gung-ho to defend this, how important the trip was, and he could not be stopped. So that I think we got page 3 in the Independent.
Yeah.
And I defended them at the time because I remember, and this is the myth about Oireachtas trips, like that they were all surfing and lying on the beach and all of the rest of it, you know.
We all had to defend them.
Which wasn't the case. And actually, just here's a little record now. And I'd say there's probably not too many who are going to be able to say what I'm about to say.
You have a great memory, Mark.
In 22 and a half years, I never ever went on an Oireachtas trip.
Well, you just said you end up in Waterford.
Oh, sorry, Waterford, yeah. Never on a foreign trip. That's the one and only trip I ever did go on, down to Waterford, yeah.
I find that
with
hard
the tall
to
ship. That is a fact.
But you see, if you cozied up more to me, Martin, you could have got
No, I was offered more trips around the world with the Irish Parliamentary Union, which are the ones where you fly first class and all the rest of it. I never did. And look, it's very important that sort of committee chair people and ministers and all of that go in. I always took the view, if I'm away, you know, the work is building up at home.
Yeah.
And I was always more focused. I was never really focused on foreign affairs and that kind of stuff. I'm not criticising those who went.
Yeah.
I just didn't feel I was adding value, so I never went.
Does anybody ever remember? I remember covering the story at the time where Pat the Cub Gallagher went to Guadeloupe on a European Union trip. Remember that story? No.
But we all got caught up in stories. When I was chairman of the Transport Committee, we went to Australia to see the road traffic regulations and all that. So when it was announced that we were going, the guards sent off one of their chief superintendents to follow up to see what we had been doing. And actually what we saw on that is what's been implemented now. And I remember getting off the plane in Dublin, coming back, and next thing is the mobile rings, Pat Kenny. So I always remembered what Haughey said. That was, if you come off a long flight, don't talk to nobody. So I said, no, I'm not talking to you today, but I'll talk to you tomorrow. So next morning, Pat Kenny rings me up and he says about this and that and the other, and why was there need and could it not be done on internet and whatnot. And I said, well, it's like this, Pat. The tsunami was just after taking place, and poor Charlie Bird, Lord of Mercy, had been sent out to examine the tsunami a week after it was over. I said, when it came to RTE and the tsunami, you sent Pat or Charlie Bird rather than doing it on the media, what was available from others. So it's actually the same with us. We went to see it in real time rather than taking it off the net. But that is where the idea with regards to the alcohol locks came from. That actually came from Sweden originally, but the distance speed limits were in Australia at that stage. And the amazing thing was the Australians had mobile drunk driving units and drug units, and one of them was in a horse box. Absolute horse box was what they were using. Yeah. And what they would do was they'd go into a section of road and they'd pull it in on the side. And then as cordon as everyone came up, they had them trapped. They couldn't go back. So they had to all come through the system. But it's what's been implemented here now.
Yeah. So it was value for money, you think, John, that trip?
Any trip, if it's done right, is value for money.
Yeah.
Because you see what's going on the other side of the world. Like, I think we were on another one, no more than what was said about John to Argentina. Myself and Willie Penrose, Johnny Brady, and I think Paul Connaughton could have been the fourth one that was with us. And we got educated in it, believe it or not. because we were brought into a dairy processing plant, which was able to process about a third of the production of Ireland at the time in the one plant. And next thing was we were brought into this big theatre and it was full of kids. And what were they doing? They were bringing in the school kids and explaining all to them about the value of dairy products and the whole lot, and sending every one of them home with a goodie bag of dairy products to get them to bring their families into it. So it's amazing what you learn. And there again, they brought us into a slaughter plant, and it was able to slaughter something like 5,000 cattle a day.
There you go. I don't know how we got on to that subject, but anyway,
Here we are.
that was John in Argentina.
He was talking about Nola Flynn's son.
Yeah. Oh, that's exactly it.
that
Yeah. Anyway, the question I'd asked was, are Independent Ireland a good fit for a Fianna Fáil, Fine Gael coalition government?
They could be, because it depends on the members that get elected. Because if they elect the present group, if you take it, Michael Fitzmaurice would be capable of sticking the heat.
Yeah.
Richard O'Donoghue, I think, was capable of sticking. Actually, the one that I think would get it hardest to stick to the ground rules could be actually Michael Collins. I might be wrong, but
yeah,
you can be sure that if Michael Clark is elected, he'd want to be in government rather than being on the outside throwing stones.
But if they're going to sign up to a programme for government, they're going to have to swallow some things that they've been preaching against.
That's right.
And that may not be palatable to them or their supporters. So it's well and good to say we're ready for government, but are you ready to make the compromises and shoulder the blame for some of the tough decisions?
It's 11 o'clock. We better take a break. Back in a moment. Still waiting for the first count from Sligo Leitrim.
Welcome to Clayton Hotels, where every second is yours. Clayton Hotels, where it's personal.
The Ocean FM car giveaway for 2024 is now live. You could be driving away in this stunning Hyundai i20 Deluxe Plus worth €25,000 for as little as €10. Fitted with all mod cons such as 16-inch alloy wheels, privacy glass, wireless phone charging and lots more. Grab your ticket now, price at only €10. You can get 6 tickets for €50 or 10 tickets for €80. To get yours, just go to oceanfm.ie and click on the car giveaway. Best of luck.
Well, the main benefits transition to solar for us was the savings on the bills, and we obviously had an extra few pounds that we could put into somewhere else in the business. We're a family-run business. We like to give back to the community. Well, I shopped around and got a few quotes from different companies, and I just thought solar generation were the most professional that I came across, and it was a no-brainer at the end of the day to go for solar generation, really. I'd 100% recommend solar generation to anybody that's thinking of getting in solar. Everything was top class. They're a local company that looked after me 100%. I couldn't have asked for any more from solar generation, and really looked after me very well.
Everybody
Yeah, okay. Still waiting on the first count. We will get notification before that, so we'll let you know exactly when it's been announced. But it's I don't know. Well, we'll have to wait and see if they will continue on after that, or call it a night and continue on tomorrow morning. Micheál Martin, I'm saying that it could be. Well, it's not. There's not going to be government form before Christmas. That's quite obvious. I think at this stage, isn't it? It'll
I don't know.
not happen. I would have thought that quickly.
Depends if it's. I mean, if it panned out 85 between Fianna Fáil and Fine Gael, where they only needed to sort of make up 3 or 4 or 5 to give a decent margin. There's no reason why they couldn't, unless for the optics.
Yeah.
Well, they're projecting over 40 for Fine Gael, 45 for Fianna Fáil.
That's what they're saying. Yeah, but that can change too.
You could be talking 90 seats between the two of them, and there would be no reason to leave it until after Christmas to form the government.
See, all you'd have to do then was, you have Noel Grealish, you have Michael Lowry, people like that who are going to support the government anyway.
Yeah.
When it comes to a tight.
Yeah.
And they're guys that aren't going to waver. They're solid as if they were part of the government.
Yeah, what does it mean for Mary Lou MacDonald, do you think, this election? Maybe, possibly still the party with the largest number of TDs and still not in government.
Yeah. Well, I'd say if she comes out as the largest party in the Dáil, it will certainly save her leadership for a while.
For a while.
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, they operate differently to everybody else. You know, it's not like in Fine Gael or Fianna Fáil, where if there was going to be a move, you'd know all about it and it'd happen. I mean, if there's going to be a change in Sinn Fein, it'll just happen.
That you just wake up some morning and say that she had resigned and that so and so was anointed.
We were talking about the discipline and everything earlier on.
So it's not necessarily related to the immediacy of an election campaign.
It's not sort of like a mainstream party in that sense, where you know, you feel the temperature and that temperature sort of bubbles out into the public discourse before it happens. You know,
it certainly appears. You know, I said there have no factions in the leadership, and if there is, it's all very much in the wraps. I think so. Clearly, if she comes out with that level of seats. You know, I think that's and how Sinn Féin appoint their leaders is a different procedure as against political parties where a number of deputies come down a motion of no confidence. That it certainly doesn't happen. I wouldn't see it happening in Sinn Féin.
Right, okay. 071 911 8104 is our number to call. You can text or WhatsApp 083 3500 530. Did the panel know anything about Dublin Central? Is Gerard Hutch looking good? Asks Tommy in Riverstown.
I'm just looking at it.
He could steal it.
Yeah.
I believe there's quite a lot of votes to be, up to 14,000 votes to be transferred.
After count 5, if you want to hear it.
Yep.
So Mary Lou is elected. Donahue on 5701. Fitzpatrick on 2538. This isn't in order. Gannon on 5027. Horrigan 2113. Hutch 3650. So he's running. He's running in line for the 4th seat at the moment. But obviously there'll be a lot of votes. To go out that could benefit theoretically Fitzpatrick to put her above Hutch, or to benefit Sherlock to put her above Hutch.
He's the one now that's the one that reckon is going to decide that Malika Steenson.
Yeah, sorry, John.
Steenson has been excluded now.
Yeah, and his is
2100.
Yeah, his has been transferred at the minute, and they reckon that he is the one will decide where it's going to finish.
Yeah, the other point that people are making on our WhatsApp and text machine is there's no. I don't think there was ever going to be a rise in the right-wing candidates, but there was only arguably just one, if you could even describe him as a right-wing candidate, and in this election. But this was a serious feature in the local elections just a few months ago. But it seems to have wilted completely, has it not, in those few months? And I'm talking nationally. I don't see any so-called right-wing candidates picking up any seat.
N2 would certainly be on the right of the spectrum on some issues, social issues. You know,
I suppose I'm talking more so about the immigration issue.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, it's funny that immigration conversation when Simon Harris took over the leadership of Fine Gael and he made some more robust noises around immigration than Leo Varadkar had been making. He got a bounce in the polls. Sinn Fein had been very pro-immigration up to that point, and they had a bit of a U-turn in the language that they were using regarding it, which also coincided with their improvement in the polls. So it obviously was an issue that people did have feelings on, and I think certainly Fine Gael and Sinn Fein obviously saw a need to amend the language and their discussions on it to attract a more concerned voter on the issue.
Yeah, and this person on AI and AI John, which we were talking to Pádraig Hart about earlier, this person says simply, echoing what Mark said earlier, I'm wondering, does AI John know where the Hill or Ballydrehead Bridge is?
That's the issue. We'll know tomorrow evening, I suppose.
Yeah.
Say that again, Mark. Say that again. What?
They're wondering, does AI, the AI bot, the AI John, have the any idea where the Hill or Ballydrehead Bridge is?
I doubt it very much.
Yeah.
And Ballydrehead Bridge is it's a critical area for Eamon Scanlon and Michael Turk, because that, they said there's a huge amount of votes in that area that there will certainly I think that they'll stood firm.
Well, you see, I don't know how it works, but they could be picking up on those very comments that you've just made live on air and adding to their memory bank in relation to their future pronunciations.
I think that the jury is out on AI at the moment, so I think myself, you cannot beat the, regardless what input, if you put whatever information you put in, you get the desired result. But I would like to see what questions are being asked.
All right, and any issues with AI that you got in your campaigns years ago were a different subject altogether, John.
But I think that's whatever about artificial information. I think that's it was about. I think the information that came direct from the doorstep was the one to go by now. I wouldn't like to be directed a campaign by AI anyway.
Yeah. But it was all the same, John. It all depended what you got out. All depended on the input. No matter which way you looked at it.
You're right.
And an interesting question from a person again about polling on a Saturday or a Friday. What are your guests' opinion on having a general election only on a Saturday to enable the possibility of a higher turnout? And I think it was Leo Varadkar favoured the Saturday elections, isn't that right? And I don't know, why did they revert to a Friday? Does anybody know?
Day off school?
Possibly. Does it make a difference, do you think, at all?
I think it does make a difference. I mean, if you travelled from Dublin City to Newtown Gore on a Friday evening and had to come through towns like Virginia, fight your way through the traffic, you certainly wouldn't do it lightly. So I'd imagine if it was on a Saturday, certainly people who work and study in Dublin would find it easier to vote in their rural constituencies.
Yeah. John, John Perry, any opinions, any preference? No, he's listening to the progress of the monk there. Mark, Saturday or Friday, does it matter?
Sunday.
Sunday?
Yeah.
Why do you say Sunday?
I make it compulsory to vote. It's a democracy at the end of the day. It's
you
compulsory in Australia.
Yeah.
You get fined if you don't vote.
Would you make it compulsory to vote?
Would you?
Yeah, Alistair Campbell and Rory Stewart favour the compulsory voting. They say that it works in Australia. It makes people take a view.
Yeah.
And even people that would normally say, sure, I have to because I'm going to get fined if I don't, they do actually have to consider what they're going to do.
Yeah.
They have to think about it.
But like what does voting do, or exercising your franchise do, including spoiling it? I mean, it gives you the right to complain.
Yeah.
At a minimum.
Yeah.
And if you're not prepared to vote, you've no right to complain.
If you made it compulsory and someone didn't abide by that, what's the penalty then?
I don't know what the penalties are. I mean, 50 Australian dollars or something like that, I think.
Yeah.
Is it not more?
I don't know. It could be more.
But you see, Mark is actually right. If you don't, if you have compulsory voting, you can go in and spoil it if you say curse on all your houses. Mm-hmm. But it probably gives you a better balanced result than as it is at the minute, because there's always various excuses for if you want to avoid something.
Yeah, because a significant amount of people, not only here in Ireland, just don't vote. That's always been the case, no matter be it local elections, general elections, referendum, whatever.
But it's the one time you're asked your opinion in a meaningful way, and that your opinion matters, and that the answer you give matters. And sometimes it's hard to stomach when somebody decides to have a go at you, and then they haven't voted on the one day that that their opinion really mattered.
But that's common. You find out that if you check back often, somebody that gives you the most grief are the people who didn't go to vote and don't vote.
Right, okay, we're still waiting the first count in here in Sligo Leitrim. I'm told that the first count was being announced in the Donegal constituency, and then the fire alarm went off. And I think they proceeded. With it, and then Pierce Doherty was elected on the first count as expected, exceeding the quota. Right, okay. So a bit of excitement in Donegal, not quite so much excitement here yet. Right, keep texts and comments coming, and there's more texts coming in relation to the polling day on a Saturday or a Sunday, and this person says, fully agree with Mark McSharry, totally agree with him, definitely should be compulsory. Right, there you go. I want to ask you a question that came up way hours ago in relation to, and one of our guests referred to it earlier, and I can't remember who it was, but when Simon Harris, there was very few highlights in the entire election campaign, but when Simon Harris interacted with that disability worker in Kanturk in County Cork, and it caused that viral video sensation, was that important, John Ellis, in the campaign or not, or was it a media creation, do you think?
I think I would call it a media creation, because we all found those sort of characters canvassing that wanted you to talk to them and listen to what they had to say. Simon Harris, in my opinion, was obviously had listened to the lady for quite some time, but it's obvious that somebody had already set up the video, and that he was actually being trapped in a way to show off this, that he wasn't caring enough to basically give this woman maybe, you see, you don't know how long he had been talking to her before the
you think
video
there's an element of a setup in it, do you?
I wouldn't be surprised.
Yeah.
Because remember that it has been done in elections, and often fellas get set up without realising it till they're in the thick of it. Right. But I wouldn't put it past a setup.
Pádraig Hart is with us again. Have you any indication, Pádraig, as to when we're getting the first count?
I have, but I think things are slow here. Things are definitely hotting up, I think, in Donegal.
Yeah, the fire alarm went off, is that right?
Yeah, we're getting reports that a fire alarm went off in Donegal. So,
as the count was being announced, is that right?
As the count was being announced, the fire alarm went off. And one of the helpers was heard shouting into the returning officer, it would remind you of Dad's army, don't panic. So that's it seemed it's very close, but they're just dotting the I's there, and we're not quite sure how many more I's that's going to be dotted. But what I do think is that when this count is announced, they won't be going any further tonight.
You don't
the indications that we were getting was that they would go into the next round, but I don't think they'll go any further than that this tonight. So it should be any few minutes now, really.
And you think that's it? They'll call it a night then and resume tomorrow morning?
I think that they'll call it a night then and resume tomorrow. Yeah.
Okay, and from what you see and what you've heard all day, a long day tomorrow
I think it's going to be a long day tomorrow. I think every vote that's been transferred tomorrow is going to be crucial, because the order that people go out in is going to be very, very significant. And while I know John might have a view that it's a foregone conclusion, I don't think that it's anyone can have that level of confidence and say it's a foregone conclusion yet.
You have to call it for the data that's before you.
Yeah.
So, there's a likely outcome that looks likely at the moment. But obviously, it comes with the caveat that there's 16,000 votes to
be
divvy out that.
Well, there is 16,000, so I mean, to be confident with 16,000 votes to divvy out.
Did you say you were confident, John?
I didn't say I was confident,
Right.
but what I'm saying is quite clearly that it would appear that at the minute Michael Clark is in the driver's seat of the people that are coming behind him. But I agree with Pádraig on the fact that the eliminations, the way they come, could have a bearing on it. And if you take it, depending on what time Chris McManus goes out, if he gives Martin Kenny a massive surplus, then that surplus could go anywhere. Anywhere that could finish.
Yeah.
Comes from that parcel, though. It'll come from that parcel.
It will
be predominantly Sligo town.
Yeah, but the
yeah, it's from the surplus is from the parcel, from McManus's parcel, and so it'll be Sligo town, and those Sligo town votes tend to stay in the town.
Yeah.
So as the race gets tighter and the numbers get narrower, votes are going to become small number of votes are going to become much more significant.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, the order. I mean, definitely, Clark is the favourite. Just looking at it on the surface at the moment, but you can't rule out Harkin, and you can't rule out. You can't rule out Chris.
Your AI project, has that come to us a standstill now, Pádraig?
No, well, I was just going to open it here and quote. I know that there's a lot of scepticism here with
slight amount.
But sure, the first cars had people with flags walking in front of them as well. So, we're not
IT1.
Just bear with me now while I bring this back up, please.
Yeah, and a lot of support just while you do that. A lot of support from the idea of compulsory voting, which I'm kind of surprised about, but there you go. Anyway, what were you saying about AI in the latest?
Well, we went back in and challenged it again on age demographics, okay? And the AI came back and says that Clark starts with 5,938 votes, a moderate base, but behind leading candidates like Fein and Kenny. So it does a prediction on the transfers. I'll not go into the details of that. But it means Clark has a broad but diluted appeal, which may allow him to accumulate steady growth through eliminations. Okay? But it says candidates like Marie Castley, Gina Boyle and Marian Harkin share overlapping geographical and political bases with Clark. Clark could gain substantial from these eliminations, particularly from Harkin and Castley. Okay? But it says, I just work here. While it's possible for Clark to gain a seat, it is unlikely given his transfer appeal is too diluted. Stronger candidates like Fein, Kenny and Scanlon are well positioned to consolidate their vote, and it expects that Clark will remain below the quota. Okay? And it's saying Clark's rural base keeps him competitive in nearly round counts, but his diluted transfer network prevents him from consolidating enough to reach the quota.
But what Mark said is right. There'll be 2 or 3 of them short of the quota. At least 2 and maybe 3.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, is he John AI? Yeah, is his name? Yeah,
apparently, yeah.
He seems to be only assuming it's a 3-seater.
He seems to say that again. Sorry.
He seems to be assuming it's a 3-seater.
No.
So he's called Frank Feehan, Eamon Scanlon, and Martin Kenny.
Yeah,
stronger.
And talking about the 4th seat.
Yeah,
it's the 4th seat.
But he's saying that Michael Clark won't make it because he'll be in 4th place.
No, he won't make it. He won't make the 4th seat. But we'll go back. I'll take that question on board, and we'll go back in and we'll question John AI even further. Thanks.
Okay, and you might ask.
What didn't come across clear there, Pádraig, what you're saying is that the AI is telling you that is not as transfer friendly as others.
Yes.
So who is?
They're saying, the AI is saying that Harkin and McManus are more transfer friendly because of the geographic location.
And what does it say about McSharry?
Let me go back up here because we asked the question about McSharry. McSharry will survive early eliminations, but is unlikely to gain enough transfers to remain competitive beyond the 10th or 11th count. Her elimination will result from the stronger positions of Scanlon, Harkin and McManus. So it's saying that she'll remain competitive, but possibly get eliminated. Now, this is AI, this is very new
No, I know that.
technology.
Yeah, no, I find it interesting.
And the great thing is what we're doing here is, and what I'm learning from you and what I'm looking for is, let's ask it some more questions, because project engineering and specification is the key to working with AI. So the more intelligent question we can ask, the more intelligent answer we'll get. So the question we're asking it now is it assuming that it needs...
Will women transfer to women?
Mm.
If you just, do you ask it that? I don't understand fully how it works.
I'll ask it, is there a gender bias?
Okay, and you wouldn't have heard this earlier, Pádraig, you wouldn't have heard this earlier, but somebody wanted to know, does John AI know anything about Fortail or Ballydrehead Bridge? So you might put that question to they as well. I hate to say this, but we're hearing, this is unofficial, we're hearing word now that there may be no count until tomorrow. That's not confirmed, by the way. But we're hearing word that might be the case, and we'll let you know as soon as we do know. Right. 20 past 11, we'll take a break.
Welcome to Clayton Hotels, where every second is yours. Clayton Hotels, where it's personal.
The Ocean FM car giveaway for 2024 is now live. You could be driving away in this stunning Hyundai i20 Deluxe Plus worth €25,000 for as little as €10. Fitted with all mod cons such as 16-inch alloy wheels, privacy glass, wireless phone charging and lots more. Grab your ticket now, priced at only €10. You can get 6 tickets for €50 or 10 tickets for €80. To get yours, just go to oceanfm.ie and click on the car giveaway. Best of luck.
Well, the main benefits transition solar for us was the savings on the bills, and we obviously had an extra few pounds that we could put into somewhere else in the business. We're a family-run business. We like to give back to the community. Well, I shopped around and got a few quotes from different companies, and I just thought solar generation were the most professional that I came across, and it was a no-brainer at the end of the day to go for solar generation, really. I'd 100% recommend solar generation to anybody that's thinking of getting in solar. Everything was top class. They're a local company. They looked after me 100%. I couldn't have asked for any more from solar generation, and really, really looked after me very well.
No confirmation of that. That was just a report we received, and we don't know if that is the case or not. But we're assuming for now that the first count is going to be completed by this evening. There was a question earlier, if I can find it now, and I can't remember. I can't find it where it is. Yeah, a listening wondering, I have to clarify this now. A listener is wondering why there's a bias against Sinn Fein. They say it's just Fianna Fáil and Fine Gael, wondering why that is. Now, I don't know if they're referring to our panel or just in general, but I can only assume we were talking about the formation of a government, but we're assuming that is the most credible option, that it will be a government of Fianna Fáil and Fine Gael and others, because you couldn't see any path earlier, any of you, that Sinn Féin could be part of it, unless they go in with Fianna Fáil. But there's going to be no left aligned government.
No, there's not. The numbers don't stack. Like if Fianna Fáil and Fine Gael are in the 80s, there's no alternative. It's a case of who becomes the third party. Or could you see a situation where, say for instance, the SDs and the Labour Party might decide that they're going to form a group between themselves, that the two would be going into government alongside alongside Fianna Fáil and Fine Gael, to basically shield each other from the effects of being the smaller number in government. Because remember, they're both in the one gene pool.
Yeah.
And if that were the case, it could well mean that they wouldn't want to leave one outside and one inside.
But there's also the sandbag,
yes,
where Labour will be sort of once bitten, twice shy about being a very junior partner in a government, and I think they would like to have the support of the Soc Dems. If for nothing else, somebody else to blame if it goes wrong.
Yes, and the other side to that is that do they become the alternative, or if Fianna Fáil and Fine Gael are, say, in the mid-80s, you can take out 3 or 4 independents that are definitely going to be totally friendly towards them. So they could then end up dealing with maybe the independents, or maybe going down and doing a deal with the Healy race.
Yeah. Johnny has had enough of it all. He says, Niall, can you not just ask that John AI when the first count will be? We have beds that need sleeping in. And I think we can all associate with Johnny. My question is, why is anyone entertaining these John AI bots? Never heard such rubbish in all my life. People complimenting us for the John Comiskey interview earlier on. Okay. And then someone else says, honestly, Niall, John AI is one of the most interesting panellists on this general election special. A very interesting analytical assistant. So there you go. Have to be careful with some of these messages that come in, because I could say something that could mean something totally different. Somebody wants to ask John McCartan about Mensa. Is that I'm not insulting you in any way, John, with that, am I?
It's Latin for table, isn't it?
It is indeed. Mensam.
Oh, Jesus. Don't bring me back that far.
Those were the days. Are you a member of Mensa, John? Somebody...
I am, yes. But
okay.
it's
I don't know if you want that known or
not. You wouldn't be winning any friends by saying that. I remember Frank Feehan warning me one time. I made a speech at a branch meeting, and Frank felt it was a little bit heavy on numbers, and he said to me, McCartan, remember, smart fella want it, but not too smart.
And I mean, do you apply to join up, or how does it work, or do they contact you, or?
No, I had taken an exam once a long time ago, and on foot of the result of that, I was invited to undergo a small test.
Yeah.
Which I did for the fun of it.
Yeah. But you don't get any free trips to Argentina or anything like that?
Oh God, no. But if anybody out there is willing to fly me to Argentina, I'll take the first class ticket, John Perry. I won't be one bit ashamed to take it if I'm getting it.
Right, okay. And somebody else reminds us that Piers Doherty elected with a surplus of over 6,000 votes in Donegal. So I'm trying to remember. Pierce Doherty was elected in a by-election, wasn't he, in Donegal? Yeah, and he's been flying ever since. And I don't know. He's got one of the highest votes in the country, apparently. He and Michael Healy-Rae, which isn't surprising, I suppose.
No.
I'm told. Right, okay. You didn't have any more word, Mark, about a count?
Yeah, I was speaking to one of the supervisors there. They said they're almost there on the first count.
So they're obviously going to do the first count.
Yeah, they're obviously just... What appears, looking in at them up there, is that there's some checking. All the counters are sort of sitting around waiting instructions, and some of the senior people seem to be consulting documents and stuff like that. So I don't think we'll be waiting much longer for the first count, and I can't imagine he'll go any further than that when it's going to be a full day tomorrow.
Right, okay, and I know there's interest here in the Donegal count results, which you don't have to hand yet, but I will get it and read it out when it is to hand, the Donegal count. Okay. And again, just to let people know, assuming the first count happens tonight, will you be able to work out from the first count, gentlemen, the next procedure?
Well, who goes next? Yeah, I can tell you that already.
Okay.
The next count will exclude Corcoran and McConville together.
Yeah. Okay.
In my opinion.
Thanks, John. There's the Donegal count. So, first count for those who are interested. Pierce Doherty, first count figure 18,898. Huge vote for Pierce Doherty. Pat the Cope, back in again, it looks like. Fianna Fáil 10,024. Padraig McLaughlin and Sinn Fein 9,799. Charlie McConalogue, Fianna Fáil 8,019. Then we had Charles Ward, who's the 100% Redress Party, 6,862. Thomas Pringle, who's the outgoing independent deputy, on 5,289. Nicky Bradley of Fine Gael, 3,658. Noel Jordan of Sinn Fein, 3,321. John McNulty of Fine Gael, 3,247. Mary T. Sweeney of Aintu, 2,469. Niall McConnell, independent, 1,565. And then there are more candidates down the bottom. So it's no surprise, John McCartan, you're not going to hang on to Joe McHugh's Fine Gael seat, but I think that was kind of widely expected, wasn't it?
Yeah, writing on the wall there. Donegal has been, steadily becoming a difficult constituency for Fine Gael.
Yeah.
And
but you always had, Denny McGinley down the years. You had Paddy Hart. Jim White.
Yeah. But time moves on, and like Donegal has shown a certain level of disaffection. Even if we look at the referendums that have run, a sort of a consistent no vote from Donegal on those things. So there is definitely a feeling of, I don't know whether it's isolation or just disenfranchisement. But Donegal is certainly not. Hasn't been favouring Fine Gael, and I don't think favours the establishment. Pat the Cope, I know, is running on a Fianna Fáil ticket, but he has very strong Republican credentials there, and I think there's a kind of a quasi Sinn Fein Fianna Fáil voter that's quite happy to support Pat the Cope. He's a tremendous survivor.
Yeah, absolutely.
He's a tremendous worker.
Yeah. Not least with the passports. Not right.
No, that's just one aspect.
Yeah, it is.
But he has never stopped working since he finished.
No. We could see that, yeah.
I'd say, just looking at those figures, McConaughey was a very good vote, but he may struggle.
Yeah.
But I think, Mark, that he'll be okay, because the Fine Gael vote was going to go back to himself and the Cope, rather than it's not going to go to Sinn Fein, and it's definitely unlikely to go to Thomas Pringle. So whatever about the micro candidate, I still think that I think Pringle is the one that's in real trouble there.
Yeah, it looks like.
No, I agree with you.
Yeah, and he has defied the odds before, Thomas Pringle, to stay there.
He will have the advantage of the fact that there'll be a Sinn Féin's surplus hanging around that could help him as it did before.
Yeah, John Perry, you wanted to comment on that?
Well, just when you look at the Fine Gael vote there of 6,800, that's and that when that vote is, I would agree with. I think that a fair percentage of that, if there's a transfer with Fianna Fáil, Fine Gael, I think it should certainly benefit McConnell Grove. That's my opinion now.
Yeah. I don't know. Was there ever? Is that the first time Fine Gael have never had a seat in Donny? I know the Donegal constituency changes, but
I was talking to Dinny McGinley during the week,
and
I think that's. I think it's not since the foundation of the state. I think it's going back to. There's always been you had Paddy Hurt. You had Paddy Hurt there for a lifetime. Just when you had,
Jim White is the last.
Jim White and Dinny McGinley was there. He was up in 30 years in that.
Yeah.
And there was Pat O'Donnell before that. So it was. It always has been. And I suppose in many ways you would be surprised if Fine Gael lost the vote there, because if you look at the Pirate candidate. That's with the huge campaign.
Yeah.
That it'd be different if that vote if the Fine Gael vote, if it had slipped. You know what I mean, Jeremy? But it certainly has slipped to. When you look at the vote that Pierce Doherty got, it's an extraordinary vote entirely.
Yeah,
isn't it?
Absolutely. Maybe Alwyn Enright should have ran instead of in place.
You might say that, but I couldn't say that now.
You might think it though, John, would you?
As I say, I couldn't judge that case now.
Doctor, he's going to take the Radaman's answer. No comment.
No comment. Yeah. Right. Cian is in a cottage. If you can find this, Cian is in a cottage in Dromard, and he says, "Jesus, Niall, no count. I'm sitting on the chair all day, and the wife is giving out. How do I possibly tell her there's no count now?" Great coverage. Well, we believe there will be a count now. That's so.
Yeah.
Maybe we jumped the gun on that somewhat. In a couple of moments, we hope. Right, okay. What else are people saying? There's a question again about, Mark mentioned it earlier, about posters. What are the panel's views on posters and the defacing of posters, which seem to be widespread in the region in recent days? Yeah, there was some.
It always went on. Going back to the beginning, there was always sort of caricatures and abuse and everything put on posters. Posters have a role to play in a campaign, they always do. I think some people get very uptight about them and complaining, there's a poster up, but it shouldn't be. In the main, posters will be put up and put down very quickly. I know some locations tell people they don't want any posters. I think it's part of our democracy, it's part of the thing. John McCartan rightly said earlier on, there can be certain signs up all year round for certain things, promoting this, that and the other, and when an election poster goes up from whatever independent or party or whatever, you have people complaining about it, and I think there should be an element of tolerance, to be honest, part of the game. And, there are very strict rules. I've been fined myself for a poster being up after the required time. It's certainly not intentional, and you send your teams out over the course of the few days afterwards to get them down. Inclement weather in winter elections, posters blow down, then candidates can be done for littering, because the thing can't be found, and I think people should relax about it a little bit.
Yeah, this person says, so many posters that I just walked past Frank Fein hanging upside down off a pole, and I walked past Chris McManus with a red nose sprayed on him. I think a lot of people were impacted by the red nose in the last few days of the campaign. This person says what Michael Clark needs now is Harkin and McSharry to go out and to stay ahead of McManus, but needs him to stay in currently. If McManus goes out, it's going to put Kenny over the top, and Clark might not get many of the transfers. What did the panel think? Does all that make sense?
It's a long way before that.
Yeah.
Before the order of eliminations for that cluster that are within
a couple of hundred votes,
of each other, before that becomes clearer. So you'll be well into 6th or 7th counts maybe.
Because I think that on that point you'll see that Martin Kenny will be taking votes for quite a period.
Absolutely.
He's going to be so it's not a situation for him to get over the quota. He has a huge amount of votes to collect in that period, and prior to that happening, you'll have a fair determination on Marian Harkin and Del McSharry, and you'll have Gino Boyle. So they're going to really indicate a different. result.
5 counts completed in Sligo, none in Sligo and Leitrim. How could this possibly be the case? It's a much bigger constituency. We get this point all the time. We don't have an answer for that.
Yeah, well, I know that a returning officer Porrick he's doing, and his team, you'll have to compliment them, and it's a huge task of going through every ballot box and attention to detail, make sure there's no inaccuracies and everything, so that it's all about making sure it's done to the highest possible standard with no room for mistake. And I think you'd have to. This is part of the election cycle that people thoroughly enjoy. I suppose if you had electronic voting, which was briefly there, and they knew the result within a half hour, and even in the US, these tally, so I think what people like about the local elections is the whole. It's like going to the races for some people. Really, they just like the banter and and obviously the bookies had a big play, and the odds on bookie shops was certainly quite considerable.
Yeah, I heard they suspended the betting on Sligo Leitrim at one stage. I don't know why, but I heard they did. I checked it again this morning. The odds were still up again. And David agrees, saying, Niall, this has become a tradition in the Sligo Leitrim constituency. Very slow first count. Other constituencies well up and running. Why exactly is that?
Well, I'll go into Carlow Kilkenny here.
Yeah.
We'll do a comparison, right, because they're finished.
They're finished, are they?
Yeah.
Done?
Yeah. Give me a second, I'll get it up here.
Okay. That would be your friend John McGuinness's constituency.
Yeah. He's polled very well.
Has he?
Yeah.
At least I read it was finished. Now, maybe I'm mistaken.
No, well,
my apologies.
A couple of them have been finished because I was going through the map here earlier.
I'll go back in.
Meath West is finished. Is Wexford finished, John?
Let's check. Wexford. No, Wexford is not finished. But Meath West is finished.
John, how did Damien English's seat go there?
So Noel Dempsey's daughter won the seat. Fine Gael lost.
She won the seat.
She was the fourth elected overall, I think.
Yeah.
So you have Aisling Dempsey, Peadar Tobin and John Quirk.
There's nobody elected on the first count in Carlow Kilkenny.
No, the Meath, it's the Meath one I'm looking for then. Which Meath did you say is?
Meath West. There it is, John.
Yeah.
Yeah, Noel Dempsey's daughter got elected.
Yeah. Yes.
Damien English's seat was lost.
And Damien was an outstanding TD. I mean, he was 20 years in the door. He was certainly a fantastic worker now.
I mean, it wasn't a huge margin. 8,098 votes versus 8,806.
Right.
The quota was substantially less. It was a three-seater. Oh, Jesus. Sorry. Here.
Yeah, they had fewer candidates as well.
Yeah.
There were only 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. There were only 8 candidates to be eliminated.
Yeah, and some of the headline issues we were saying earlier, there was a chance of a green wipeout. Seemingly that's not going to be the case now. They will get a couple of seats, and then it's more likely now that Roderick O'Gorman will retain his seat. He's leader of the party, of course. Boxer Moran is back in Longford, Westmeath. I think it was a surprise that he lost his seat some years ago. Pat the Cope we talked about. Timmy Dooley, I think he's a friend of yours as well, Mark, isn't that right?
Yeah.
Timmy Dooley, he's returning after a spell in the Shannon, former TD, of course. Claire Daly, we spoke about earlier, has been eliminated in the count in Dublin Central. Holly Kearns, we spoke about it, and we also spoke about Gerard Hutch as well, and him being in contention for a seat in Dublin Central. And not that it really matters much at this stage, but there are just 30 seats of 174 filled. Currently it's 6 for Fianna Fáil, 7 Sinn Fein, 9 Fine Gael, 1 for People Before Profit, 1 for Aontú, and independents have 4 seats. Okay. And still we await the first count here in Sligo. Any more surprises? You seen anything?
I can see there's a lot of the counts finished for the night.
Yeah, a lot of them seem to have adjourned for the night. So have the days, or is it because it's day one? I mean, the days where they push on until 3-4 in the morning, they seem to be in the distant past now.
That was only if they were trying to finish.
Yeah, if they saw a path to finish in, maybe.
Yeah.
Okay. Right, we have another ad break to take, which I think we'll take now, because it's coming up to midnight and we're still awaiting the first count here from Sligo. Back in a moment.
Welcome to Clayton Hotels, where every second is yours. Clayton Hotels, where it's personal.
The Ocean FM car giveaway for 2024 is now live. You could be driving away in this stunning Hyundai i20 Deluxe Plus worth €25,000 for as little as €10. Fitted with all mod cons such as 16-inch alloy wheels, privacy glass, wireless phone charging and lots more. Grab your ticket now, priced at only €10. You can get 6 tickets for €50 or 10 tickets for €80. To get yours, just go to oceanfm.ie and click on the car giveaway. Best of luck.
Well, the main benefits transition to solar for us was the savings on the bills, and we obviously had an extra few pounds that we could put into somewhere else in the business. We're a family-run business. We like to give back to the community. Well, I shopped around and got a few quotes from different companies, and I just thought solar generation were the most professional that I came across, and it was a no-brainer at the end of the day to go for solar generation, really. I'd 100% recommend solar generation to anybody that's thinking of getting in solar. Everything was top class. They're a local company. They looked after me 100%. I couldn't have asked for any more from solar generation, and really, really looked after me very well.
Right, okay. Michael Clark hasn't been at the count today, and he's in, certainly in a very, very strong position to take a seat. But we spoke earlier in the day to his Director of Elections, Barry Clark. He had this to say about Michael's performance.
Who do I have to give out about that exit poll? Because none of us got a wink of sleep last night because of that. Not one wink of sleep the whole night. So we're obviously, the reaction is very positive today, obviously, because we actually couldn't just figure out the figures. You know, we're a lot of figures. We've gone through the figures for everything. We planned everything out very well, but we just couldn't get over this 3,500. You know, that would have meant really that we didn't get a lot of support in a lot of areas that we thought we might. So we're obviously delighted today with the real figures.
The tally figures very much at odds of what was on the exit poll. Your overall percentage and tally figures much more impressive. And the big question now is, it very much puts Michael Clark in the mix for a seat.
Yeah, and we're delighted with that, in fairness. Now, I don't get all political and things, but, you know, every year, every 5 years, we send a team to Leinster House, you know what I mean? Or, sorry, to the Dáil. And that, basically, for 50 years, we haven't had a minister in the Northwest. And that really is a show of what they think about the Northwest. So, for nothing else, for Northwest's sake, that I'm delighted that we're actually mixing it up a bit now and sending a representative from Independent Ireland that might have common sense policies that will tailor to the Northwest. And one thing that they will hopefully insist on is that we actually get a minister for the Northwest, which we hadn't had for 50 years since Ray McSharry was the last one, and he was a great one at the time.
You mentioned very much at the heart of the manifesto there for Michael Clark is the Northwest, and predominantly he would be seen from his own area, Sligo, as a Sligo councillor, South Sligo, that particular direction. The secret behind the success of doing well outside his own heartland, coming into areas like Sligo Town, North Leitrim, into South Leitrim, areas like that, down as far as South Donegal. So what would you attribute what's looking like a success at the minute? What would you attribute the success of this campaign to?
Yeah, well, the first thing I'd say is that this was all being set up for the lad. Mike's a councillor for 20 years and he's worked hard, and it's unbelievable the roads we went down that you'd never see and you'd never think we might. Next thing, oh, Michael, yeah, he helped us do this. He'd never tell us. That's the great thing about Michael. He keeps everything on the quiet, and would have been helpful if he knew these things were canvassing. But that's what's good. But another part of the government having a lack of respect, especially for West Sligo and most of Sligo, that they put the West and South together. They reduced our councillors and put us in together. So that basically opened up the opportunity for someone from West Sligo to do work in South Sligo, first of all. And as we know, there's a lot of votes in West and South Sligo. Never enough in West to actually elect someone, but now that he got access to the South and actually could do work there, and you see he's done massive work around that Ballymore country, and you can see that now with that support he's getting. And obviously, Leitrim, you know Michael is very agricultural. No, he's not only agricultural.
And business connections in Carrick and Shannon.
Correct. And that he was around the Marts, and Michael Fitzmaurice had a great effect there. And obviously we a lot of people we know in Donegal. So
you spoke of Michael Fitzmaurice and the Independent Ireland. The link there with Michael Fitzmaurice as well. Absolutely flying it in Roscommon today again. So Kieran Maloney elected in Europe. Obviously the Fitzmaurice factor today. Michael Clark going well. Is there a movement starting here? Is there real momentum getting behind the party now at this stage?
Like, I could go all political here now and we could talk for an hour. But, 100 years ago we had a civil war, and that caused two parties, okay? And I'm watching all the votes here today, and the amount of 1s and 2s and 3s going to Fianna Fáil and Fine Gael, and they're in government for the last 5 years. So basically, the war's over. Do you know what I mean? And that it's going to be Fianna Fáil, Fine Gael together. So we basically need something different, possibly not than the far left. The Independent Ireland are a good centre party. They want to look after everyone, in particular rural areas. And when I say rural areas, I mean basically ever outside the cities.
So there was a niche in the market that the party has successfully identified and are building on that.
Correct. And that's what I know. He's my uncle. I'm a director of Electoral. We're very happy, but I'm also happy for the Northwest that this man is going up there now and he's going to do nothing but common sense policies. Common sense policies, the whole party. And there's a real
at this stage, are you calling it? At this stage, you're very confident that the third or fourth seat is more or less in the can?
Well, no, absolutely not. But it's just that it's far better than the poll, the exit poll. Do you know what I mean? So we're obviously on a bit of a high that it's going well, a lot better than that. And we're actually in the mix, and it's great. And again, it's great for the Northwest. It's not just great for us, it's great for the Northwest.
Already, would you believe, before we hand back to Niall, the speculation, Niall, that in relation of Michael Clark does go to Dáil Éireann, there will be somebody co-opted the Sligo County Council in his place, and already the name of Barry Clark has been mentioned here in one or two circles today, so I'm going to put you on the spot. If he does get elected, would you be one of the people perhaps that could be co-opted onto the local authority in Sligo?
We'll have to discuss that obviously with Michael's group. We have a good campaign group, we'll have to discuss that, but I have a lot of sheep that I have to look after, so I have to go home and look after the sheep now after this, okay?
Okay, well, that was Barry Clark. We spoke to him earlier on today on behalf of the Michael Clark campaign. Barry is Director of Elections for Michael Clark, and in bullish and optimistic mood ahead of what may happen tomorrow, and even address the issue of course, of a possible co-option. It's a bit too soon for that. Okay. We also spoke earlier. In fact, one of the first interviews we had today was with Martin Kenny, who was here from an early time this morning and polling very well and certain to retain his seat. And here's what Martin Kenny had to tell us.
It's very clear that there's three candidates pretty much ahead of the rest, and after that then it's the last seat that everyone is talking about what's going to happen there. There's a couple of surprises. Marian Harkin's vote, I think, has been, very poor. It's just surprising, and I'm disappointed for Marian on a personal level. We also, of course, see that I think Clark has done better than the exit poll suggested, certainly what we've seen so far. But that said, it's going to be very difficult to say where that last seat is going. Chris McManus is also polling well and is picking up a trickle of votes all over the place. If you compare those last four, Clark, Harkin, Edel McSharry and Chris McManus, you're looking at any of those could be in the play for the final seat.
All right, just to confirm it maybe for the people at home who have just tuned in as we're speaking here at the minute, those 3 seats that you're calling as fairly safe at the minute, they would be Eamon Scanlon, Martin Kenny, and I presume Frank Feehan.
And Frank Feehan, yeah. I'd consider them fairly safe. Now, Frank has a little disadvantage in that he doesn't have a running mate to get transfers from. But that said, from looking at the tallies, he's getting a mark on every paper. He's getting a 2, a 3 or a 4. Fianna Fáil is transferring well to Fine Gael. I can see that as well across the board. So I think he will get a trick of the transfers that will keep him in the race and will hold on there comfortably enough, because he will have a decent first preference. The other ones then, like obviously, you know, Scanlon is doing very well and is going to get elected. I can see that and he also, of course, Paddy O'Rourke, who I thought would have a little better vote as well. Now, we haven't seen Leitrim's boxes opened yet, but if the opinion poll or the exit poll from last night is anything to go by, you know, his vote will be quite low. So, you know, we'll see what happens there. I'd probably get a good percentage of that from the point of view of transfers being in Leitrim as well, and some of that I think will go back mainly to Eamon Scanlon after that.
Those transfers are going to be absolutely fascinating. We'll talk about them in just a moment. Let's maybe compare and contrast this election maybe to 4 years ago, and you stood as the only Sinn Féin candidate in the constituency. You exceeded the quota. That was probably always unlikely going to happen this time round as a result of 2 candidates running.
Yeah.
So is it a case of good vote management by Sinn Féin here, in the sense that both Chris McManus and yourself are so close?
Yeah, we managed it pretty well. You know, we managed it pretty well, and we were in a place, I think, where we could be taking 2 seats. Nobody thought that was possible, and we always felt that, you know, one thing you won't get 2 seats from is by not running 2 candidates. If you're going to get 2 seats, you must run 2 candidates. We chose to do that. Chris has run a very good campaign, a strong campaign across Sligo, and I think we're in a position where we can do that. The last time I got about 24% of the vote. We're on around the same percentage-wise of the vote this time. Turnout is a little lower. Obviously, you have North Roscommon gone out of it as well, which changes the dynamic a little bit. But that said, you know, we're still very pleased that the Sinn Féin vote has held up from that huge vote that we got 5 years ago, and it seems to be the same across the country as well.
At this stage, you definitely wouldn't be ruling out the prospect of taking the second seat.
No, it's if Chris McManus on the first count is a little ahead of the other 3 that I spoke about, and if then when Nessa Cosgrove and Gino O'Boyle go out, if that pushes him further ahead and he's fit to get a reasonable sort of head start on the others, he could hold on and he could take the last seat. That's very likely.
Another Leitrim candidate, somebody not too far away from your own neck of the woods, has been identified last night and indeed has been talked about in great detail so far today. The importance of the Paddy O'Rourke transfers, if and when he's eliminated.
Yeah, Paddy O'Rourke transfers will be important, of course, and Paddy is a neighbour of mine from Carrigallen. We went to the same school, so you know we're very close in that respect, and I expect that I will get a good transfer from Paddy O'Rourke. Paddy is a very, very strong performer, particularly in his home area in Carrigallen. So you know he'll get a good vote in there. But the problem he has is the further he travels up through Leitrim and on into the other areas, the more that vote drops. And I think that he's clearly going to be the victim of that on this occasion. He's always talked about being in a corner down in that part of South Leitrim. And that I think is what's ringing through as the problem for him to get a decent vote. But you know, I think we're in a position where Paddy's transfers will probably come maybe 50% of them to me, and then the other 50% of them will go between the 2 Fianna Fáil candidates.
Finally and briefly, just looking outside the Leitrim, Sligo, South Donegal constituency, from what we're hearing across the country, a lot of predictions already, and they come with a health warning that we could be looking at more or less the same in government again, Fianna Fáil, Fine Gael. What's your sources telling you throughout the country, Martin, at this stage?
Well, look, I haven't been talking to very many, to be honest with you, but as far as I can see, you know, that is one likely outcome. But we haven't the votes counted yet. We haven't even the first count tallied yet anywhere. So, I mean, we could be in a position where the Fine Gael vote could be down more than people think, and certainly their seat count could be down more than people think. Our Sinn Féin's will certainly be up. We'll be over 40 seats, maybe up to 45 seats. It could put us in a position where it could be more difficult than Fianna Fáil and Fine Gael think for to form a government after when all's said and done. So, you know, it's all to play for, and we just have to wait and see. But I think if we go back 10 years ago, Fianna Fáil and Fine Gael combined had over 65% of the vote in the country. Today they're on below 40. And that's a huge change nationally.
And what we're seeing here in Sligo Leitrim, that's reflective of the fact maybe that Chris McManus and yourself have polled reasonably well in this election.
Absolutely, I think that's reflected in this election, and you'll see that reflected across every part of the country. The problem we had 5 years ago, we didn't run enough candidates. This time we have, and I think we'll get the benefit of that.
That was Martin Kenny speaking a number of hours ago at this stage, well before we had the first tallies in. It was early this morning, actually, we were speaking to Martin Kenny. Great coverage, this person, great coverage, and excellent, intelligent and well-informed panellists you have today. What kind of barriers would the newly elected candidates need to overcome in order to deliver key projects for the Northwest, the N17, hospital upgrades, tenants for the empty IDA factory in Finniskillen? Well, maybe there are questions we'll get to with the candidates at some stage tomorrow. Right, okay, and we're told also by someone else that the count in Meath West is finished, and still people wondering why so many first counts have been held around the country, and we're still waiting for one here in Sligo Leitrim, and we still have no indication as to when the first count will be with us. Okay, another man who seemed fairly happy when we joined us earlier today was the outgoing Fine Gael deputy Frank Fein, who looks, I won't say fairly certain, but assured, or certainly favoured to retain his seat. Here's what he had to tell us. Frank Fein, you're very welcome.
That's great to be here.
I remember you 4.5 years ago, it was on the second day, and you were pacing up and down just behind our table with headphones in, and you had a very worried looking expression on your face. And how different it is today.
I was lying back this morning and listening to each and every one of you, and I could sort of say it's a wonderful interest, and to be honest, I've always been at I think, Mark, you said it at counts. You actually find out more what's happening at a count by sitting at home. And again, congratulations, Ocean FM and your staff, and indeed your wonderful contributors here. Is that including these two from Leitrim, John Ellis and John McCartan.
Right, okay. The exit poll last night had you topping the poll. Some would say you had to top the poll to retain your seat. Well, your performance, first of all, I mean, you were up against it, with just yourself in the race, Frank.
Yeah, well, look, I'm fortunate that I think it's said here before, I have a unique relationship, certainly in South Leitrim and North Leitrim, where I've represented them there and since 2007, and I've always said this, that I wouldn't have been elected in Roscommon, South Leitrim, only for the South Leitrim vote in 2007 and 2011 and then 2020. So that vote was always there, and I just want to thank them for the support they've given me. And you know, I've always said for 20 years I've knocked on doors, and nobody has ever insulted you, or nobody has ever, they might be voting for you, but there's something unique, and the same thing in Sligo and South Donegal. So I was fortunate today, and I think the transfers will probably come my way because I live in Sligo town and we have that unique relationship with South Leitrim as well.
So you have a foot in every camp, as you said. You have that South Leitrim experience, but a lot of people were saying, well, you're missing out on North Roscommon this time, so you're up against it.
Yeah, well, I've lost 25% of my number ones the last time, and it was a huge worry. But as I said, I've lived in Sligo now for the last 12 years, and my wife and kids go to school in Sligo. I have an office in Sligo on the Sligo TD, and I'd like to think that we have made, and as a government TD, I'd like to think that we have done a lot of, I suppose, good in the constituency. There's a lot of issues of which we haven't solved, but that's what politics is about. But what you do is try to do your best and work with everybody to try to get results.
Okay, so was it the hard work of all the Fine Gael supporters and canvassers, or was it the Sligo Rovers money, or was it living in Sligo, or was it the tractor pull that you were at a couple of weeks ago, apparently?
It was, look, sometimes, as I said, in politics, campaigns get momentum. I think John Ellis, you talked about momentum, and they get momentum, and my campaign got momentum, and I'm very honoured that I'm part of a government that was able to deliver a new university in Sligo and was able to make sure that St Angela's were in the university. I didn't do it alone. It was done with many other people, and again, we have a brilliant team on the ground, very loyal members of Fine Gael, but not just Fine Gael, a lot of friends, a lot of people who come out to support, and I think that happens in every party or every independent candidate. So sometimes, as I said, you get a bit of luck, and on this occasion I was lucky. And I just want to say that I want to pay tribute to all the candidates who put their name in front of a ballot paper, not just here but across the country. That's what democracy is all about, and again, there was a huge respect amongst all the candidates, and I very much welcome that.
So in cricket terms, you're how many not out now? How many elections is that?
It's 4 general elections. And I've been lucky to be fortunate in the 4, and I just see...
You've never lost an election, isn't that the case?
No, but however now, I'll caveat that. I think it might be embellishing a little bit. I went for a convention, and I think it was Roscommon Longford in 2001, and I didn't get on the ticket. And if I had been on the ticket in 2002, I don't think I'd be seen or heard of again. And then in 2016 was Roscommon East Galway. I decided that I wasn't going, and I doubt if I was on the ticket. So sometimes, as I say, you get lucky and you pick your battles, and as I said, I've had a lot of luck on the way.
Yeah, and only, as you well remember, only a couple of years ago, you you pulled out of the convention in Sligo Leitrim, the Fine Gael convention, before the vote, and then you came all the way back to take a seat.
Yeah.
So it's more than luck that does that, I think, Frank, isn't it?
Well, whatever, it's there was a fellow years.
The constituency of Sligo Leitrim, with an electorate of 94,040, 94040. Total poll 57,316, 57316. Invalid ballot papers 416, 416. The valid poll 56,900, 56900. Number of seats to be filled 4. Quota 11,381, 11381. The following is the result of count 1. Camden Molly, Party for Animal Welfare, 423, 423. Casserly Mary, non-party, 2,419, 2419. Clark Michael, Independent Ireland, 5,979, 5979. Corcoran Caroline, Independent Ireland, 6969. Cosgrove Nessa, the Labour Party, 2,086, 2086. Feehan Frank, Fine Gael, 8,980, 8980. Gallagher Blaughin, the Green Party, Coenthus Glass, 725, 725. Gucky and Des, non-party, 887, 887. Harkin Marian, non-party, 4,347, 4347. Kelly Michael, the Irish Freedom Party, IFP, 770, 770. Kenny Martin, Sinn Fein, 7,764, 7764. McConville Diarmid, Nav Party, 64, 64. McManus Chris, Sinn Fein, 5,173, 5173. McSharry Idel, Fianna Fáil, 4,466, 4466. Monaghan Graham Aintu, 1,112, 1112. O'Boyle Chino, People Before Profit Solidarity, 1,657, 1657. O'Rourke Paddy, Fianna Fáil, 4,066, 4066. Scanlon Eamon, Fianna Fáil, 5,913, 5913. No candidate has reached the quota on this count. As there is no surplus for distribution, I will exclude the lowest candidates and distribute their votes as follows. Diarmuid McConville, 64 votes, Caroline Corcoran, 69 votes, and Molly Candon, 423 votes. And the next count will consist of that distribution. As it is now after midnight, I will adjourn the count until 9 o'clock tomorrow morning. So thank you very much.
Okay, well there you go. We let our guests go. There's not much can be said except the tallies again extremely accurate. Very accurate.
Well done to all the tally.
Well done to all the tally men. No big surprises. 9 o'clock tomorrow morning we're back. 9 o'clock tomorrow morning. Look, it's the first count. It's more or less in line with the tally. So I'd like to thank you all for coming here, and we'll talk to you tomorrow. John McCartan, John Ellis, Mark McSherry and John Perry. Much obliged. We'll talk to you tomorrow. And that's it. The first count is in. I might just run through the figures once again before we finish. We'll let the panel go off. It's been a long day for everybody. So there you go. First count in from the Sligo Leitrim constituency. Just to go through the figures again. Molly Candon, Party for Animal Welfare, 423. Marie Casterly, non-party, 2,419. Michael Clark, non-party, 5,979. Caroline Corcoran, Independent Ireland, 69. Nessa Cosgrove of Labour, 2,086. Frank Fein of Fine Gael, the poll topper, on 8,980. Blauhin Gallagher, Green Party, 725. Des Guckian, non-party, 887. Marian Harkin, non-party, 4,347. Michael Kelly, Irish Freedom Party, 770. Martin Kenny of Sinn Fein on 7,764. Diarmuid McConville, non-party, 64. Chris McManus, Sinn Fein, 5,173. Edel McSherry, Fianna Fáil, 4,466. Graham Monaghan of Aintree, 1,112. Gino O'Boyle, People Before Profit, 1,657. Paddy O'Rourke, Fianna Fáil, 4,066. And Eamon Scanlon of Fianna Fáil, 5,913. The valid poll was 56,900. There were 416 spoiled votes, and the quota, the all-important quota, is 11,381. So you heard after the first count, eliminated are the lowest candidates, McConville, Corcoran and Candon, and the distribution of their votes constitutes the second count, which will resume at 9 o'clock tomorrow morning. Thanks again to all who stayed with us on this very long day of coverage, and we'll have an equally long day tomorrow. Thanks again to all our crew, all our hard-working crew, and they'll be back in a couple more hours again to resume our coverage of the Sligo Leitrim count, and an interesting day ahead, to put it very mildly, tomorrow, and the fight for that all-important fourth seat. Good night to you all. We talk to you tomorrow morning from 9.